USPBL Baseball today presented by Belfor Property Restoration on First Responders Night and a thirsty Thursday. What a beautiful day it is for baseball. The humidity kind of out of the air, which has been here for the last few weeks in Metro Detroit, but ready for some baseball here today. It's the visiting Utica Unicorns of the home Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers. As we welcome to the broadcast, everyone. Jeremy Otto alongside Brendan Shabat to bring you the call here in our My Michigan TV pregame show. So we also welcome everybody in the stands watching going forward in this fine segment as well.
Yeah, nice to not only see us on the YouTube, but on the big board as well. If you haven't seen us before, welcome. We are also on YouTube for any time that you are not here with us at Jimmy John's Field. Check us out at USPBL Baseball. But yeah, nice to have the show on both ends for both types of viewers.
YouTube, Facebook, and now My Michigan TV. You can look us up there as well there. Our games will be airing on that platform going forward, so always great to have this network expand, which was launched in 2020. But getting towards this game here today, this is the second time today that these two teams match up, kind of an unusual circumstance, and a non-public happening this morning at 11:05. It was a 6-1 nice win for the Unicorns overall.
Yeah, and the Unicorns halted what was a very good streak for the Beavers. They had won 7 in a row and 8 out of their last 10 after falling behind 3-9 at the start of the year. They kind of made some roster moves, brought in a bunch of new guys, and they have really reinvigorated and rejuvenated this lineup, and they rattled off 7 in a row, which is not easy to do. I mean, you look at Major League Baseball, for example. I think at one point the Orioles had won 8 or 9 in a row, which was the biggest streak in this year so far in the Major League. Yeah. So for the Beavers to win 7, they were bound to fall at one point. But before this morning, I would have said, I don't know if anybody can beat these guys. Inevitably, it was the Unicorns who were able to do it, and they can pretty much beat anybody, sitting at 16-4 now on the year with this morning's win. But this Beavers lineup is not only playing very well and really have turned it around for the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers, but they're just fun to watch. And I was talking to Dakota McFadden, who was traded to them from the Mammoths earlier this year, and he's a vocal leader on this team and kind of a veteran presence for a bunch of new guys, a bunch of younger guys fresh out of college, first time in the USPBL or in professional baseball for that matter. And he said, I just told these guys, hey, after the loss this morning, we can rattle off another streak. Streaks end all the time, and we can just start another one. And we really feel like we have a chance to make a run at this thing and win a championship here. And the one thing he talked about was, some of his teammates were upset after the loss this morning, and it really maybe bothered them a little bit. And he said that's a good thing, though, because it shows that they care and that they want to win, and that's what they're here to do. They're not just here for their own personal stats. They're not just here to move on to another league quickly. While they're here and they want to get better as a baseball player and do all those things, they want to win as a team, and they're having fun. You can see the chemistry between them. There's inside jokes and just laughs all around with the pitchers today for the Beavers. We're taking batting practice. I think 3 or 4 of them hit home runs in BP.
Trevor Jackson looked pretty good.
Yeah, it was fun. Nick Shaw had a great swing. Sanders hit 1 or 2 home runs. Galindo had one as well. It was really fun to watch, and all the guys were around and having a good laugh and having a good time. And baseball is a lot easier and more fun when you can kind of just relax and take the mental aspect out of the game and not think too hard and just go out there and play the game that you know how to play and the game that you love. And that's what the Beavers have done in 7 in a row. Pretty good.
Well, speaking of home runs and Dakota McFadden, Dakota will bat third in this lineup for the Beavers here today. And what a show he was able to put on in the home run derby last weekend on Saturday. 38 total home runs. And you think, okay, that's a lot of home runs. But you think about it even deeper. You speak of 2 minutes and 30 seconds in the first couple rounds and a 3-minute round in round 3. That's not a lot of time, and that's a lot of swings to uncork that many.
It is not easy. I think people have a misconception about home run derbies. All these balls are lofted. They're going slow. It's batting practices. It is not easy to go up there and swing for 2.5, 3 minutes straight. And not only that, you're trying to kill the ball. You're trying to hit it as hard as you can, get it out of the park, get as many home runs as possible. Because part of a home run derby, I was talking to Dakota McFadden today about, he said his strategy was to just kind of sneak it over the wall, which is as a guy who's played in 6 home run derbies before, right. He kind of had a little bit of an advantage because he's been through that process and has that idea of how you just want to sneak it over. Some guys go out there and they try to crank it because home run derbies, you want to see a bunch of home runs, but you also want to see some bombs. You want to see some balls that disappear out of your field of vision. And McFadden knows better than that, try to just sneak them over and kind of keep that stamina up. But that's not easy to do. 38 home runs, a USPBL home run derby record. And I will admit, I must say, he was my sleeper pick a week ago. I said, watch out for this guy. He's a big power hitter. He's done it before, and he was able to pull away the win, and it was good to see. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah, maybe two of the sleepers. Certainly Nick Kreitzer, we knew the pop he had maybe hasn't translated exactly how he wanted it to in terms of home runs in his first 2 years in pro ball, but that's a guy who has ultra strength.
And I think it's the same thing with Dakota McFadden, too. Both of those guys, we know the power that they have. If you hang a curveball to them, they're going to punish it. But it's about, obviously batting practice versus, live pitching. And their strategies change, too. Sure. Talking to Dakota, he said, I'm trying to hit it over the second baseman and over the shortstop's head. If I get lucky and I get one and it goes out of the park, or I get a hanging breaking ball and I can get under it and really scoop it out of here, that's one thing. But I'm just trying to hit gap-to-gap liners. And Nick Kreitzer does the same thing. Everybody knows the kind of power that they have. They don't really need to showcase it. We've seen it from them in college in their numbers. We saw it from Dakota in the Pecos League. Right now, they're just trying to get hits, put balls in play. But when you get a chance in a home run derby, that's the chance to showcase it. And they really both did. It was amazing to see the ball fly off their bats and just kind of how effortless it seemed to. Both of their swings were just really smooth, and the ball would just jump off, and that sound was pure and crisp, and it was a really fun day.
Just the energy that Dakota showed at the end was infectious. I mean, how pumped he was to hit as many home runs he did, and he said it in the post-game show as well, to hit it against so many great hitters in the lineup that it was in the home run derby was a lot of fun. You can certainly rewind on YouTube and Facebook and watch that from last week as well in the All-Star Game and home run derby. But as for today, time for your pitching comparison brought to you by Ascension here today. It's Austin Shea who will go for the Beavers, Riggleman on the other side for the Unicorns, two guys who are shaping up to be really good arms for these two teams.
Yeah, Riggleman is on the lower spectrum of earned runs so far. He's kind of a newcomer too, right around 10 innings pitched, hasn't quite gotten as many reps as a guy like Austin Shea who we've seen. But he's got some good stuff. Keeps the walks low, also keeps the strikeouts low too, so more of a pitch-to-contact kind of guy, but that can work, and we've seen it work for him. He doesn't have a huge run total so far. And then on the other side, Austin Shea, we really can't say enough about how much he has turned things around in the last 15 or so innings for him. I mean, he was really struggling through his first 5 or 6 starts to kind of get into a rhythm and get into a zone. He had, a start with 1 1/3 inning. His walk rate was way up where it really should have been. And in his last 2 starts, he's gone around 14 innings, only 3 earned runs, 2 walks in his last 2 starts. I believe double-digit strikeouts. He's really turned it around, and he said it was more of a mental thing for him. And that's kind of like we talked about the infectious attitude of some of these new guys on the Beavers and that team chemistry and just having a good time. He said he just had to change his mental aspect and realize that, I have the stuff to get this done, and I can be one of the best pitchers in the league, and I just have to trust my stuff. And he's done that. He said that, and it's really been fun to watch. I mean, the last time you and I were on the call together and he had that start, I believe he went 6 innings, 7 innings, 7 or 8 strikeouts. I mean, he just really looked on fire. He's got the spin going on the slider and on the curveball too. The fastball velocity is much more consistent. He's locating it, and I really expect another good start from him today.
We'll have Brendan's keys to the game and our starting lineups when we get back here on the USPBL Network. If you're watching in the stadium, enjoy the game. We'll be back on the flip side on the stream. Stick with us.
How do these business owners find the time for peace of mind? Because they rely on Tryon to handle difficult and time-consuming HR tasks like payroll, benefits administration, and more. Working with Tryon, one of the nation's top professional employer organizations, provides access to top-tier health care and employee benefit plans and its team of attorneys and HR experts. With Tryon, you don't have to grow it alone. Visit RelyOnTryon.com.
You can always rely on Tryon.
Welcome back to Jimmy John's Field, everyone. Broadcast is brought to you by the following sponsors: Belfor Property Restoration, Ascension, Budweiser, DTE Energy. We thank all those following sponsors for what they do for the USPBL. Time to check your lineups for today's game. First, for the visiting Utica Unicorns, it's Drew Galassi who will lead things off and play center field here today. Malik Bolin bats second and plays left. Leandy Castro will hit third and play right. Ari Sakopoulos, coming off a nice showing in the home run derby, will bat in the middle as the cleanup hitter today and play first base. Noah Childress will bat fifth and DH. Kevin Lambert had a big home run in game number 1 here today at 11 a.m. in the non-public. 3-run shot. He bats sixth and plays third. Louis Attilis back in the lineup hitting seventh, playing short. Matt Parkinson hitting eighth and catching, and John Hodo will round things off and play second base here today against Austin Shea for the Beavers. As for those home Beavers here today, Cam Collette's back at the top of the lineup as he plays third base. Luke Fenley, guy that Von Joshua really likes all the way around and what he does in the field, and at the plate will bat second and play second. Dakota McFadden, fresh off that home run derby. Does he have any more juice in that bat? I think so. He bats third and plays first here today. Felix Aberrant, the catcher, will bat fourth. J.D. Stubbs bat fifth as he DHs. Marcos Castillo will bat sixth and play center field. Wellington Guzman bats seventh and plays short. Eric Ramirez, a little bit more on him and what he's doing hitting lately in a bit. He'll play right field here today, and Chris Davis will round things out and play left field, the speedy outfielder here for Vaughn Joshua's team. Now time for Brendan Shabath, keys to the game. What do you think here today, Brendan?
Well, I think today is really going to be about Austin Shea and whether he can come out and limit the offensive firepower that we've seen so often this year from this Unicorns lineup. Dakota McFadden, like we talked about in the pregame show, he talked about it pregame today. You know, if you give them a chance, they're going to pounce on opportunities and they're going to put runs on the board. If he can limit that and have another really good outing like we've seen in the last 2 or 3 from him, he's going to put this fantastic Beavers team, who rattled off 7 in a row before today, in a really good position to get some offense behind him and get a win.
It's kind of an interesting situation. You're not in too much unless you're playing, you know, the double headers on Saturdays, which are different in their own right because they're only 2 6-inning scheduled games. But this is a Beavers team you kind of talked about in the pregame show that was frustrated after their game earlier today. There was a little bit less of a full BP in between games just because, you know, the players went away and then came back pretty quickly with the split doubleheader here today. But it'll be interesting to see how they respond here in game number 2.
Yeah, it's not quite the typical doubleheader that we are used to. And it's not, you know, right back-to-back games like we usually see on Saturdays. You get a little bit more time to relax and unwind, but also more time to think about what went wrong in game number 1. And maybe if you make that mistake, dwell on some of the issues. It's the one good thing about the few hours in between is you get a lot of time to just let that game get by. I think it's really easy in the back-to-back doubleheaders to go out there 30 minutes later, you know, say you had a game-losing error in left field or something. You know, you're back out there 30 minutes later in game number 2. You're still kind of thinking about that. Maybe the heart rate is still a little bit elevated. Here you get 3 or 4 hours to unwind, let this morning's game be this morning, get a new, fresh mindset, you know, get some rest, get some food, maybe even take a quick little nap, and then you're back out there for game number 2, and it feels like a whole new game and a whole different day, and it is.
Did you take a nap?
I did not. I'm usually a nap kind of guy. I am a huge advocate for naps, but I did not today.
We'll see how that plays out for Brendan
It
and
might not be
everybody
good.
here today. When we get back in the USPBL Network, it's the Unicorns and the Beavers next.
You hear about the promo that Jimmy's John's got going on? 5 off 20? How they pulling it off? Magic? You got David's Copperfields in there? Show yourself, Copperfields!
Jimmy John's. $5 off orders of 20 or more.
Jimmy and Brendan back with you here from the ballpark. So good you could tune in on this Thursday. Time to check defense here behind Austin Shea, brought to you by Three Dimensional Services Group. It's Davis in left, Castillo in center, Ramirez is in right, Collette at third, McFadden over at first, Fenley and Guzman up the middle with Aberrett completing the battery here today. Austin Shea, fastball, changeup, and a slurve.
That changeup and slurve have been some good pitches for Shea lately, especially the slurve. He's really utilized that, got a lot of nice tight spin on it, some good break, good depth out of that pitch that has led to an increased strikeout rate for him in the past couple starts like we mentioned. And, you know, when he's got that thing going, he's got a lot more confidence on the mound, and we should see a good day from him. We'll see how it starts here in the first inning. One thing we've seen Shea do before, which is a pretty good strategy, it's worked out the past few times, he has been very fastball heavy through the first time through the order, usually 2 innings, maybe 3, till he gets through all first 9 hitters. And that sets up that slurve for later in the game, where if you can face a hitter a second time, that's usually when they have an advantage. They've seen you once or twice already. That's when we see batting averages usually tick up. But if you can face a hitter a second time and he hasn't seen all 3 of your pitches yet, you can only rely on 1 or 2 of them to get him out the first time. That's a huge advantage for a pitcher on the mound. It's worked for Shea before. We'll see if he does it again.
Even 5 ERA coming into play here today. Obviously, that's a bit inflated from what he's done lately. Keeping the walks down has been a big part of why he's been able to pitch a lot better. As Drew Galassi will come to the plate here, the center fielder today. one of those captains of the All-Star game. Kind of a cool and interesting format that we're starting to see trickle around sports lately. The pool was decided by the baseball operations staff, and those two players able to pick their teams. First pitch fastball outside at 7:05 p.m. right on time here today is a ball. Comes back with the slurve for strike one. 24 walks to 40 strikeouts for Austin Shea.
And those two numbers were much closer, like we mentioned, this time 10, 14 days ago. So he's really improved over the past couple outings for him in limiting the walks and in turn getting more strikeouts too. Sometimes you'll see guys limit walks and the strikeouts don't go up. He's been able to do both.
Waiting on the 2-2 here. Here it comes. Outside 3-2. I don't know if you caught any of the mic'd up segments that they did during the All-Star game. I think Drew Anari, when Drew was on first base, we're kind of talking about the shadows this time of year and how hard they can be to see the baseball at this point, right around first pitch. As this one popped up, floating over the head of Collette. First pitch of the All-Star game was pretty much in line where they start first pitch in a night normal day, like today, Thursday, Friday, Saturday without a doubleheader. But you see there, Shea in complete sunshine throws halfway into the shadows by the time it gets to Glossy. Here's the 3-2 again. Line drive to right. That's going to get down for a base hit.
Well, I think Drew is seeing the ball okay through the shadows. That's a pretty textbook base hit right over the head of the second baseman, Fenley. But yeah, to me it seems like it's much more difficult, and this tends to be the way it goes. There's not too many ballparks where the mound is shaded and home plate is in light, but that seems to be the difficult way to pick up the baseballs when it starts completely in the sunshine and then moves in to shade. It really changes how it looks, and it's much harder to pick up spin that way as well.
There's a slurve that's by Bolin. Bolin going with the shades here in his first at bat. Kind of interesting to see what each guy does to try to counteract those shadows. Is that when it's golfed back to the screen? Left fielder Davis plays in. The right fielder Ramirez plays back. It's also interesting to start to see a few more maybe defensive placements and really read what these guys have done. Obviously, Malik Bolin has been here for a while now. A decent amount of guys have spent the whole year in the USPBL. So those numbers and the spray charts start to become more usable data. From the slide step in there for strike three. Boy, it didn't look like he was picking up that slurve well. And Shea takes advantage for the first out.
Yep, that's the slurve like we talked about for Shea. Already using it as a put-away pitch for his first strikeout of the day, and that will only boost the confidence in that pitch and in himself moving forward.
Shea is topped out at 93. On average, 89-90 on the fastball. As that one pumped in for strike one. Right at the average at 89. Short lead for Glossy at first. Here's the 0-1 off the end of the bat. First inning brought to you by Belfor Property Restoration. Also our game sponsor here today on a night where the first game ball was delivered via helicopter.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
First responders night. 0-2 slurve. A little bit harder that time away from Castro.
It's a good pitch. That's a nice eye from Castro. That's pretty close to taking an 0-2 count.
Now the 1-2. Fastball high as he lifts it. Fouled on the right field line. Drew Glossy started this inning with a sharp single And the strikeout looking by Malik Bolin. A couple really nice good sliders or slurves by Austin Shea here in the first. And now Castro battles. Looks at a ball outside. 2-2 on Lucky Castro here. Ari Sakopoulos on deck. Then it would be Noah Childress. Hung that breaking ball. Is there room for Aberrats? There is. Boy, the way the fans reacted. Thought that might scoot into the stands before it got to Felix, but he had plenty of room for out number 2 there.
Yeah, the way it came off the bat, it almost looked like it was going to be in play for a second. But, yeah, then by the time it reached its apex, I thought, these fans are looking like they're ready to catch a foul ball. And instead it was Aberrat, out number 2.
So here's Ari Sakopoulos, just one of those guys that competed in a hitter heavy. I mean, they all are, home run derby, but still. It's a pretty good lineup, and I think a lot of people just kind of talking around the USPBL. I've not been here for every home run derby, but a lot said, hey, that could have been the new best one we've seen in 7 years. From what we've heard, there's been some really nice battles. 0-1, fastball in for strike 2. Ari Sakopoulos is just one of those guys that can hit some high ones, which, as you talked about with Dakota McFadden, necessarily, isn't the strategy for guys, but he was hitting them high and still hitting them in good volume. 0-2, swing and a miss. Pretty good inning for Austin Shea after the leadoff single here in the first. He's able to strike out Bolin and Sakopoulos, and Strand Drew Galassi right in his tracks over at first base. Now to Kara Wolfbauer. A little bit of trouble there with Kara's bike, but that's your Thrifty Florist sweetheart of the game. 2 people that watch our broadcast quite a bit in the Royal Oak area, so we thank Thrifty Florist for sponsoring our sweetheart of the game. Now time for your Freaky Fast Facts, presented by Jimmy John's here today. Firefighters need 100 hours of training before they're even allowed to enter a burning building.
That sounds about right.
I think so, right?
Yeah.
You don't want them necessarily
5 hours of training, yeah, and then they're coming to save you and your family.
The United States has 18,000 separate law enforcement agencies. There you go.
Wow.
Going off the scoreboard here today, no 2 days of an EMT's career are ever the same. I can believe that.
I would say that's pretty standard. I feel like no 2 days of my career are the same either.
It must just mean, there's certain medical things, obviously, that would probably happen over and over, but...
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Time to check your defense here today, brought to you by 3-Dimensional Services Group. It's Bolin left, Galassi in center, and Castro in right. Lambert and Sakopoulos on the corners, with Hodo and Attilas up the middle. Matt Parkinson behind the plate, completing the battery here today. 3-Dimensional Services Group, prototype production proven. It's Adam Riggleman on the mound, the other half of your Ascension pitching comparison here today in the bottom of the first inning. 4-seam fastball, sinker, slider, and an occasional curve as well.
I really like the combination of the 4-seam and the sinker, 2 pitches that, if thrown properly, particularly the sinker, look so similar until about halfway to the plate. You really start to see the sinker dip a little bit below, and it's just so hard for a hitter to pick up, kind of like we talked about too with the light and the shadows right now. Much more difficult to pick up that sinker and kind of get ready to be at the bottom of the zone on your swing plane with the bat. Having both of those can just really dice up hitters and throw them off.
First pitch to Cam Collette is in for strike 1. Kind of an interesting stat, and it's through 4 starts, so take it with a grain of salt for a guy who only has thrown a few innings, 16 overall, but leadoff hitters are hitting .438 against Riggleman. You see him pounding the zone quickly, though, against Collette. He's a guy that likes to work quick as well. Now the 0-2. Fastball, 3 in a row. See you later.
Yeah, I think that's the adjustment that he made, like you talked about, with the leadoff hitters in particular. We saw Shea do a good job of it last half inning, is getting ahead in the count. We've talked about it a couple times this year. Some pitchers tend to nibble and try to be around the corners and the edges and throw pitchers pitches, and sometimes you just need to get it in the zone and throw a better pitch than that guy can hit.
First pitch to Fenley outside. Fenley, Dakota McFadden, completing the top 3 in this lineup for Vaughn Joshua today. Now the 1-0. Going to pop this one up in play. Parkinson, along with Sakopoulos. It's Parkinson who quickly collects out number 2 here in the first.
That's always such an annoying way to go down when you're a hitter. You never want to pop it up, especially in foul play, though. You just always feel like maybe you wasted a pitch or wasted an at-bat.
Dakota McFadden hits 3rd in this lineup here today. Boy, just the color of that bat looks like a metal bat, doesn't it?
That's his. I asked him about that because he was using it in BP today. He said that's his Savannah Bananas bat.
Really? Okay. Fastball at 91 away. 2-0 now. That's a good look.
That thing just pops with the color.
Sure does.
Maybe it'll add to some pop on the swing, too.
Some green and yellow, it looks like, mixed into that.
I didn't get to see it up close. I think those are bananas on the bat.
Are they really?
Maybe it's just stripes. I can't quite tell.
This one lifted foul. So after the first couple outs recorded, he got behind Dakota McFadden here 2-0, but climbs right back in. He's right back atop the hill looking to K him here. Here's the 2-2. Line drive to center. Galassi staring straight in the sun. Didn't get a good read. Over his head it flies. Dakota McFadden chugging to second base. He's there with a 2-out double.
Safe to say this guy's feeling it a little bit lately, and I think maybe that nice bright bat might have a little bit of something to do with it. McFadden's such a fun player to watch and to talk to. Always has a great attitude about the game of baseball. You can tell he really loves this game, loves playing it, loves talking about it, loves being around it, kind of like you talked about in the pregame show with his enthusiasm and emotions in the home run derby. That's an everyday thing for him.
He's a guy that's even playing around a little bit with trying to transition back to being a catcher. Aberrett to Attilas, spins around, spikes it into the ground. McFadden with a chance to score. He will easily, as Aberrett is to second base, and Dakota makes it an early 1-0 Beavers lead.
Yeah, that's a tough play for Attilas. Bounding ball up the middle, has to make a 360 turn. He was a little limpy after the turn, too. I don't know if he maybe twisted an ankle a little bit trying to get all the way around. That's one of those that you really have to take your time to make a good throw and just hope it's there in time rather than trying to rush it and throwing it away and giving up a run like he did with McFadden in that case.
Here's the first pitch to J.D. Stubbs. Swing and a miss on the fastball there. Just looking at the original, or the initial replay, I should say, it looked like maybe the plant when he finally spun around and tried to get himself set to throw might have done him in a bit. Appears to be fine, though, as he's hopping around quite normally there at shortstop right now. 0-2 quickly on J.D. Stubbs. Riggleman trying to erase a couple hits with 2 outs. They did rule a hit, probably a hit and an error. Error on the throw. Now the 0-2. Fastball away. Marcos Castillo hoping he gets a chance here in the first. He's on deck. Decent lead for Aberrant. Here's the 1-2. Slider that's poked foul. And one adjustment here by Riggleman, we're seeing a lot more fastballs. At least here in the first inning, he's been very heavy breaking ball.
That's something they've stressed on him in his development a little bit, is using that fastball as a pitch to build off of.
1-2, tipped into the glove. There it is again. He strikes out 2 here in the first inning. Does give up a run, a big 2-out double over the head of Drew Galassi by Dakota McFadden. It's 1-0 Beavers.
Every summer, my family loves to have a neighborhood movie night in our backyard. And with my Chevy Blazer, I can head out and get everything we need for a great night. It has plenty of room for picking up friends, and the available hands-free liftgate is perfect for loading unhandy supplies. You know, it may be movie night, but my Blazer is the main attraction wherever I go.
Lease a 2022 Blazer 2LT for just $239 a month for 24 months. Put it in D and see why Chevy drives the Motor City.
Make your move with a quick and easy mortgage from Genesis Credit Union. We have mortgages to fit your life. Genesis Credit Union. Visit us today.
Slide into a new home. Work with a local mortgage pro who works for you. Get a cheaper, faster, easier home loan. Find a mortgage broker near you today at findamortgagebroker.com.
Companies are
Welcome back to Jimmy John's Field, everyone. Jeremy Idle back alongside Brendan Shabat to bring the call here tonight. It'll be 5, 6, 7 due up in the second inning for the Unicorns. Childress, Lambert, and Attilis. Good bounce back there by Austin Shea. You know, both of these pitchers' first innings could have gone either way, but Shea allowed the leadoff single sharply on a 3-2 pitch to Galassi. Then he struck out Bolin. Looking, 2 slurs were kind of devastating Bolin in that at-bat. Then the pop out to the catcher and a strikeout to Sikopoulos. So getting out some good hitters and leaving that leadoff single right at first base.
Yeah, and I think anytime Ari Sikopoulos steps up, especially with runners on base, that's a scary situation to be in for any pitcher. And Shea threw him 3 nice pitches, struck him out on a fastball, which is a hard thing to do. Sikopoulos probably the best fastball hitter in the league. And I'm really surprised, you know, with Galassi on the base paths, he's got some speed. We've seen him steal a number of bases this year. He didn't make any moves to second base, and Shea handled it well still. You know, that can be a pretty big distraction when you give up, like you said, on a 3-2 count in a close battle, a sharp single like that, and then that guy with some speed is over on the pass. That can add a little bit to maybe some less confidence-inducing things.
Fastball high, 2-0 on Childress now. Here's the 2-0. Fastball in for strike 1. Childress DHing here tonight. A spot that he's kind of found himself in more often than not, it seems. Hung the slur. That one poked to left. Davis cut it off very nicely for out number 1.
And just not quite on the barrel for Childress there. A little bit towards the hands. Doesn't quite get the same pop that we're used to seeing out of him. Arguably one of the best hitters, both power and contact in the league this year. I mean, hitting .313 before today.
And to be honest, it even carried a little bit more than I thought it would initially. Here's Kevin Lambert, big 3-run home run in game 1 of this doubleheader, if you want to call it that. And some would be like, what? Yes, there was another game earlier today. It was at 11 between these same 2 teams, non-public of sorts. Kids on camp were able to see that here today on Kids Day.
You had to know somebody or know the bouncer to get in.
Even we didn't know anybody.
Yeah. I came. I was knocking. I said, "Hey, can I come in?" They said, "No. You're over the age of 10. You can't get in."
Slurve away 1-2 on Kevin Lambert.
This guy's had a really hot bat lately. Like you mentioned, his 3-run home run this morning. It's now 4 for him on the year, and I think 3 of them in the last 2 weeks.
On the ground to Collette. Nice charity hop for him. Throws it across the diamond for out number 2.
Been pretty impressed with Cameron Collette and how he's handled the third base duties. Something that we've talked about before, was primarily not an everyday shortstop, but when he played for this Beavers lineup before they had a bunch of their changes, he was at short. And since the new additions, he's moved over to the hot corner at third to make space for Wellington Guzman at the 6th spot playing shortstop, and he's been really solid over there. I think we've seen him have one dropped pop up, and that was in his first start, and that was one of those ones that came right to the mound, and everybody was calling for it. We didn't quite know who was going to get it, but on the ground balls to him, the hot shots, he's really handled them well, trying to turn double plays. He's looked pretty comfortable, and that's one thing that he talked about too, is it's not that different from shortstop. It's actually almost easier because it's a little bit more instinctual.
1-1 to Attilas. Shortstop for the Unicorns here today. Breaking ball into right center field. Castillo will quickly cut it off, but kind of the inverse of that first inning. He allows the leadoff single, then retires 3 straight. The first 2 retired here in the second. Now a 2-out single here by Attilas to keep it moving.
Kind of like we talked about with Lambert, Attilas, another bat that has been heating up lately. I think at one point he was 1 for 15 or 2 for 20 in his first 20 at-bats, and now hitting above 200 on the year, has really turned it around, has been a just steady force at shortstop defensively for the Unicorns. So I'm sure they're more than happy to see his bat come alive a little bit as he's adjusted to professional baseball.
Here's Matt Parkinson, the catcher. 1-0 pitch. Fastball at 88, in for strike 1.
Hey, guess what? Another good bat for the Unicorns. I feel like we could say that about any player that steps up right now in this lineup.
That's certainly one of the reasons that makes them so dangerous.
If any of you young ones out there want to be a catcher.
What a pick. If you want to be a pitcher, watch a good fielding pitcher. Watch Shea on that one. Able to strand the 2-out single here in the second inning. Back with more after this on the USPBL Network.
Competing for talent like never before. With the complexities of handling tasks like payroll, benefits administration, and other HR functions, it's easy to see how a professional employer organization like Tryon Solutions makes all the difference. Tryon empowers businesses of all sizes to attract and retain talent by offering access to top-tier healthcare and employee benefit plans. With Tryon, you don't have to grow it alone. Visit RelyOnTryon.com.
You can always rely on Tryon.
To the second we go. Marcos Castillo will lead things off against Adam Riggleman. Really good start for Riggleman. He looked sharp to Collette and Fenley, then allowed some sharp contact. I think it caught Galassi off guard. Not really sure he saw it right off the bat. Froze and then really had to go 3, 4, 5 steps back towards the warning track to get the ball off the bat of Dakota McFadden. So he was on second with 2 outs, and then the single by Albaret off a tough play, but a play that Attilas could conceivably make. Maybe planted a little bit funny that didn't allow him to get the strongest throw to first. It skipped past Sakopoulos, so that easily allowed McFadden to score. Then he came back and struck out J.D. Stubbs.
Yeah, that double from McFadden on that line drive out to center from Galassi. The toughest play for an outfielder to make is actually that ball hit directly at them. It's so hard to judge, especially like you said at the time. He's looking right into the sun pretty much. That's not an easy ball to get a good read on.
Line drive to left. Bolin can't quite get to it. So leadoff single here for Marcos Castillo in the second.
I don't think that single, I think that's a good shot from Castillo. I don't think that's a product of Bolin primarily being new in left field, but that's an interesting thing to keep an eye on. This is only his third or fourth start in left. Had never played outfield ever in his life until Skip Johnson, Jim Essien for the Unicorns asked him, hey, could you play left so we can get Ari some reps at first base, and Kenny Rodriguez sometimes needs a day off, a newcomer for this Unicorns lineup, and Bolin's adjusting to it well, though. I think he looks pretty good out there.
First pitch to Guzman, big hack, and that's the big thing, certainly at this level in a developmental league. They're trying to find your best position as well at the next level, even if that means maybe putting you in a spot that you're not comfortable with or haven't played a lot. But if you project well there, for a number of reasons, they're going to try you out there and see what happens. Because it's definitely easier to kind of find your way into a new position here rather than, you get to affiliate ball maybe because of your bats. It's all about performance there. Here's the 0-1 outside. Not that it isn't here. We've seen plenty of making moves as this season has gone on to make these rosters better, but I think you get my point.
Yeah, every team is going to look for a guy who can wear more than one hat. That's always a useful piece.
Just nipping back is Castillo there.
You take, for example, a guy like Matt Parkinson and Whit Hughes on the Diamond Hoppers. They're the everyday catchers for their respective teams, and they both popped a thumb in recent games, and you looked around and said, hey, who can suit up and put the stuff on and go behind the plate? Luckily for the Unicorns, Parkinson is from catcher U and will play through just about any injury that he has, and he was able to go back out there. But Whit Hughes had a longer delay, and Kevin Koziel, who's the backup catcher for the Hoppers, kind of stepped up and was able to take the brunt of the work that was required in the coming weeks. But
another 1-2. Nice wipeout breaking ball for strike three already. His third strikeout here today. And you got to think, just with the way the game is moving, and obviously it is changing because of rule changes that we've seen, the 3-batter minimum. I was hearing somebody talk about it the other day, that situational lefty kind of gone. Maybe in the past you would have faced a one batter coming in because you came from the side, or you just had that deception to you that made you hard against lefties. But with the 3-batter minimum, those guys not as apparent in that role anymore.
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily that those guys are becoming obsolete in the game of baseball. They're just having to
face more,
and change the way they pitch and what they bring to the table, those situational lefties. You got to be able to pitch to both sides, and I don't think that's a lot to ask of a pitcher either, and I don't think it's a lot to ask of a regular player to be able to maybe do more than one thing, or if you can't play more than one position, be open to trying it. And that's where we see someone like Malik Bolin out in left. That's a player a coach loves to have. Say, hey, I need you to play left today. I know you've never done it before. Can you try it? And he said, yeah, he took on the challenge, and he's getting better at it and is able to do it more and more, and that helps this lineup and helps this Unicorns team win games.
1-1 on Ramirez. Fly ball to right center field, hanging up there. Galassi going to easily dip in. Boy, the ball is just not flying.
That one looked like it was going to be a warning track gapper right off the barrel, and it barely made it, out to shallow center.
And I know you had last week off, so maybe you can't speak to this as much, but I feel like even the previous week, the wind has just not been a factor. We see the American flag in center field and then the pennants in left. Neither of them are really moving at all. Which, to say that for I'd say, I don't know, 5 of the last 6, 7 dates is pretty remarkable because just of the conditions we're used to seeing here.
Yeah, it's been kind of a theme the last month where at the start of the year, back in late May, we were like, okay, the wind's going this way today. Look out for lefty hitters or righties or whatever it was, or maybe there's not going to be any home runs because the wind's coming in. It was a huge factor in the outcome of the games, and I agree with you. Not just last week. I think the past 2.5, 3 weeks, it's really been a non-factor, and it's more the brute power guys that have been able to still get some pop on the baseball without a lot of the wind.
1-2 here, and Chris Davis, he's the bottom of the order. Leadoff single, trying to be stranded at first base by Riggleman. It's interesting to see how these two pitchers have really flip-flopped what they've done against these lineups. Obviously, Riggleman has given up a run, but he recorded the first 2 outs in the bottom of the first inning and gave up a run. On the flip side, Shea gave up a leadoff single, then recorded the last 3. Now the 1-2. Close pitch. You could see some of the defenders start to shift back towards the first base dugout, but staying where they are for now. Davis maybe smirking and realizing how close that one might have been as well.
That's a good eye from him, though.
In there at the top of the zone for strike 3. Didn't love the location of the slider, but nonetheless, that's strikeout number 4 for Riggleman here today. Back with more after this.
We're for people, the pioneers, the underdogs, the players, and the slow and steadies. We're for people, for who they are and who they could become. Yes, we're a bank, and some say our business is all about money, but that's an old idea. Because look past the money, and you'll see real human lives. We see it, because we're for people. Huntington, welcome.
As your neighbor who works at Ascension, Michigan, and a cardiologist who's practiced for more than 20 years, I'm going to keep asking, how are you feeling today? Your care can't wait. Getting care sooner can mean catching things before they get worse. At Ascension, Michigan, our ERs and our hospitals and other sites of care are maintaining strict precautions for your safety. Studies have shown that people will get care sooner if they're encouraged by their doctors, family, and friends. Get the care you need at getascensionmichigancare.com.
Austin Shea on the mound, here to begin the top of the 3rd inning. Strong inning by him in the 2nd as well. He's only given up 2 base runners, 2 singles. The one was sharp off the bat of Drew Galassi. In the 2nd, though, got a couple contact outs, a pop out and a ground out, then the single by Attilas. And a ground out by Matt Parkinson ended it without any damage done. We knew we might see a little bit of a pitcher's duel here early on if these guys both did what they have been. Riggleman giving up the only run today on the double and single. McFadden the only runner to come around to score today. It'll be Hodo, Galassi, and Bolin. 9-1-2 in this order here in the 3rd.
Yeah, the way these two pitchers are throwing the ball across the plate right now, we might see this low-scoring game continue for another hour or so. A couple more innings of this.
Little liner, that one will fall. So 3 hits all on singles. So far this Unicorns team has not been able to advance them past first base.
And that's a very uncommon thing for this Unicorns squad. They've been so consistent and profound this year at moving base runners around the paths and bringing guys home and not leaving too many men on base.
First pitch slurve in for strike 1 to Galassi. Nice 3-2 battle for him. And Shea back in the first to begin the ball game. Ended up singling up the box.
Another thing, too, that this Unicorns team has been really good at is being aggressive on the base paths. They don't, lead necessarily in stolen base categories, but they've got some guys with speed who will run when they're on base. Hodo is one of those guys. Galassi, I was kind of surprised, didn't go after his leadoff single.
He's 2 for 2, just like that.
Yeah, not having any trouble seeing the ball, that's for sure. 2 that he was able to get on top of, get out in front of, pull to the right side. Pretty textbook singles, if you ask me. It's the mark of a quality hitter right there.
Here's Malik Bolin. The shadows have changed. There's a little bit more sun now in the direction of home plate. He seemed to have trouble picking up the slurve, or just not expecting it in counts that he got it. It was a first pitch slurve and then a slurve on a 1-2 count. It kind of quickly got to him.
Yeah, I think when you fall behind in the count like that, too, you're not exactly expecting the ball to be in the zone, too.
On the ground to Guzman. Tailor-made double play for him as John Hodo now stands at third base with 2 outs here in the third.
That was a nice collect of the ground ball and then feed to first after stepping on the bag at second base for Guzman, all pretty much in one motion, all in sync and on time. That's exactly what you wanted if you're Austin Shea in that situation. You don't mind letting that runner get over to third as long as you can get both outs.
First pitch to Leandy Castro, spoiled away. Fastball at 90 that time. Third inning brought to you by Scott's here today. We thank Scott's for their sponsorship of our grounds crew each and every year here at Jimmy John's Field. Righty on righty matchup with 2 outs in the third. Hodo waiting at third to try to tie this game up. 0-1, try to go outside that time. 1-1 on Castro now. He popped out back to Aberrett for the second out in the first. Tough pitch, especially after you committed to it, and he was like, oh boy, there's just no way.
Yeah, that's one of those ones, that pitch gets about 3/4 of the way there, and you're like, I got to swing and just hope, I'm like you said, I'm already committed. I'm in on this pot.
1-2 in on the hands that time, and collected by McFadden over at first. So after the 6-3 ground out that doubled up Malik Bolin, became a little bit more simple for Austin Shea. That's your 5th third out of the game, brought to you by Fifth Third Bank here today. Now time for your JJ appearance here today, brought to you by Michigan First Credit Union. Comes out to the base pass umpire, gives him some water here. It's a lot less muggy here today, though, as we talked about. It seems like muggy for the last 3 weeks or so around the area. Just a lot of sunshine that's been happening. The sun definitely appearing here today as well, but
I'll tell you what, I don't mind too much mug as long as it's sunny. I'm loving this nice weather we've had lately.
Now time for your DTE Energy Kid Race the mascot. It's Buzz against our fine competitor here today. Looks like he plays for the Mud Dogs. Maybe he'll play here at Jimmy John's Field with this speed around the bases here. And once again, the mascot will fall in your DTE Energy Kid Race the mascot here today. Excited to see Riggleman back in the mound here in the third inning. These two pitchers have been in command. Riggleman has given up the only run thus far. That was back in the first. After he retired the first 2 batters, a lot of double to Dakota McFadden that caught Galassi stepping in a bit. It was over his head and onto the warning track. And a single up the middle by Aberrett. Didn't get credited with an RBI because of the missed throw that allowed McFadden to cross third and head home. But regardless, a tight one here today. Who knows? That could be the difference already.
Yeah, we've seen that a few times. The game-winning run come in the first or second inning, just with some good pitching behind it. And, That's an unearned run for Riggleman, so that doesn't necessarily hurt his ERA and that earned run total that we talked about in the pregame show.
This Unicorns team was able to keep their pitching in order just using one reliever in their first game here today in the non-public that started at 11 if you're just tuning in. Here's Cam Collette, the top of the order. 0-1, fastball, nicked foul. 0-2, struck out in this very count in the first. That was on a breaking ball that he was caught looking at. Here's the 0-2. Parkinson trying to pull it back in, not quite.
It was pretty close, almost the same thing as that first at-bat like you mentioned, Jeremy.
Goes back to the fastball and dusts him away, and I think this is exactly what the staff here wants to see out of Riggleman. They know he has a very good breaking ball. They know he has a great feel for it as well, but throw a fastball in that count where you can dust him away, where you've used a couple breaking balls already in the at-bat.
I think that's a big thing, too, kind of like we talked about recently, is there aren't many fastball counts anymore, but there are, 0-2, you're not expecting a fastball anywhere in the zone. You're expecting, as a hitter, this guy to throw a breaking ball or an off-speed pitch to try to get you to chase. And it's even the same thing in 1-2, in a 1-2 count also. When the pitcher is ahead, he's not going to throw you a pitch that, he thinks you could hit. He's going to try to make you chase a bad pitch. But that's where you can kind of catch guys off guard and flick a fastball right in the zone and get away with a strikeout like he did to Collette.
Back-to-back curveballs there. That for strike two. Ahead in the count again. He's already struck out a batter here, and he struck out two now. The slider caught Fenley looking. That's already K number 5 through 2 2/3.
I tell you what, too, sometimes we've seen some backwards Ks be questionable and borderline this year, and they have not been that way for Riggleman today. He has had some undoubtedly great breaking balls that have been in the heart of the zone or in tough spots to hit for hitters, and they're no doubt strikes, and there's nothing you can do as a hitter but kind of tip your cap and just say, hey, you got me on that one.
Ripped on the ground to Attilis. Quickly fires to first. Akopoulos with a underrated pick for a 1-2-3 breeze of an inning there for Riggleman. He struck out 5 through 3. Brendan Shabat takes over play-by-play when we get back on the USPBL Network.
Jimmy John's Field is the perfect venue for birthday parties, summer picnics, company outings, and provides the best entertainment in Metro Detroit with great baseball all summer long. Spend your summer nights under the lights at Jimmy John's Field in historic downtown Utica.
You hear about the promo that Jimmy's John's got going on? 5 off 20? How they pulling it off? Magic? You got David's Copperfields in there? Show yourself, Copperfields!
Jimmy John's. $5 off orders of 20 or more.
Still just a one-run ball game back here at the ballpark from Jimmy John's Field between the Beavers and the Unicorns. The home team Beavers do have that one-run advantage. Austin Shea hasn't struck out a batter since the first inning in which he struck out Malik Bolin and Ari Sikopoulos. Ari was the third out of that top half of the first, but he's done a good job getting out of some jams. He's stranded 2 base runners to end innings since then. He's let 4 get on, was able to get Bolin to ground into a double play last inning to get outs 1 and 2 in the third. He'll face Ari Sikopoulos, Noah Childress, and Kevin Lambert, the heart of the order, 4, 5, 6, here in the top of the fourth. Sikopoulos, as we mentioned, struck out back in the first. He had 4 hits in this morning's game, was kind of joking around with Dakota McFadden today pregame for game number 2 and said, I got all my hits in game 1. I'm looking for dingers in game number 2, and McFadden retorted that you don't need any more dingers. You lead the league. You've got 8 home runs. You're going to have 10 by next week if you get any more. And Ari said, yeah, that's the point. That's the plan. That's what we want. First pitch to Sikopoulos is a slurve low and away for ball 1. Ari this year hitting almost 300 against righties from the left side. Fastball low and away for strike 1. Shea on the flip side against left-handed hitters has done a pretty good job, though. Just an opponent batting average of 154. Shea got the better of Ari in the first inning, gets the better of him there with another fastball, 1-2 on Sikopoulos. 8 home runs on the year, 17 RBIs, league lead in both, league lead in OPS as well at 1085 through almost 20 games. Actually through 20 if we include this morning's 11:05 start between these two teams and what was a 6-1 win for the Unicorns. Count even at 2. Changeup misses. Full count now to Sikopoulos. We've seen him be dangerous in these counts this year. Typically in fastball counts, he'll sit on that fastball and do some damage with it. Here's the payoff pitch. Slurve got him on the swing and a miss. Austin Shea starts things off here in the 4th with a strikeout, the second one of the day for Ari Sikopoulos.
You kind of talked about picking your spots and what pitches you throw and what count. I think both of these guys have done a really nice job here today choosing to throw the pitch in the right count. Obviously, credit goes to the catcher as well for leading them through that here at the professional level, but I like what I see so far.
First pitch, Childress is out in front of the slurve. 0-1.
It's been one of the sharper slurves I think we've seen from Shea.
Throws the fastball right behind it. Working backwards a little bit here. That one touched 91, one of the better fastballs we've seen today from number 25 on the mound, and he's ahead 0-2 on the number 5 hitter. Couldn't get Childress to chase. That's one thing Childress is so good at. His former teammate Duncan Hewitt, who's now a catcher on the Mammoths, when I talked to him and said, you know, who's some of the toughest hitters to pitch against and call games against as a catcher? That one's fouled back to the screen. One of the first names he brought up was Noah Childress, and I asked why, and he said he's just so good at making the adjustment. Whether he's 0 for 10 with 10 strikeouts or 0 for 2 with 2 outs, he will make an adjustment and still be able to put the ball in play. And his batting average, like we said, .313 kind of speaks to that. The 1-2 tipped into the glove. Back-to-back strikeouts for Austin Shea here in the top of the 4th.
And we talked about it early on, you know, why Shea has been able to have more success. And certainly a big reason why is walking batters less. And how do you walk batters less? I mean, it's not the perfect scenario, but get ahead quicker. And that's something we've seen here today. Maybe not in the first at-bat to Sikopoulos. Probably didn't want to get down in the count like he did, but he barreled right back and struck him out.
There is another first pitch strike, this time to Kevin Lambert. Grounded out to third in his first appearance in the 2nd inning. The 0-1 is swung on and missed.
Hitters are not liking that pitch right now.
Already been a very quick inning for Austin Shea. Back-to-back strikeouts against arguably the 2 best hitters in this lineup. Swing and a miss. Austin Shea, 1, 2, 3, K, all of them swinging. We head to the home half of the 4th, a 1-0 lead for the Beavers on the US PBL Network.
At Fifth Third Bank, we're working hard to make banking a Fifth Third better, which means we put 166.7% into everything we do.
I think you can only give 110%.
Well, with free checking, fraud protection services, and an automatic savings tool to help you quickly reach your goals, 166.7% is possible.
Oh, wait till my 8th graders hear about this. They're gonna be like, it's not possible. Well, yes it is.
This is banking, a Fifth Third better.
Slide into a new home. Work with a local mortgage pro who works for you. Get a cheaper, faster, easier home loan. Find a mortgage broker near you today at findamortgagebroker.com.
Home half of the fourth, the Beavers looking to add some insurance for their starter, Austin Shea, who has been fantastic through 4 innings. Only had 2 strikeouts through 3, now has 5 strikeouts through 4, struck out the side. The 4-5-6 hitters for that as well in the Unicorns lineup in the top half of the fourth. Adam Riggleman got 2 strikeouts in every inning so far through 3 innings. He's got 6. He'll also face 4-5-6. Felix Abaret, J.D. Stubbs, and Marcos Castillo here in the bottom of the fourth, trailing by a run.
It's something to continue to look at here from Riggleman. I'm really interested to see in the fourth and the fifth, but you could tell maybe at the end of the second and all throughout that third inning, he was really mixing the curveball and the slider interchangeably, and the slider really had been his go-to breaking ball to this point. So maybe he opens up that curveball game a little bit more as his starts go on. I think that just makes him all that more comfortable as well.
It's been an efficient start for Riggleman as well. Only 38 pitches right now as we start the bottom of the fourth. Abaret did not get credited with an RBI, but did have that single and a throwing error from Attilis in the first inning, which allowed the only run to come across Dakota McFadden after his double back in the first. Abaret was able to reach second base on the wild throw. After the first pitch, ball 1, he pops that one out of play.
And we've talked about it before. Some guys' sliders and curveballs in this league are hard to differentiate, but it's pretty tight in terms of the differential of the velocity and easy to tell for Riggleman. More 73 on the curve.
Fastball 89. Boy, just missed it on the outside edge. 2-1 on Abaret, who has been must-see television for the Beavers through his first 8 games back in the USPBL. Was here with the Hoppers in 2021. Fouls one on the ground. 357 average with an 848 OPS. No dingers yet for him, but he's been such a offensive force for this Beavers lineup. Good frame by Parkinson on the breaking ball, but not going to get the call. Full count.
Well, if last year is any indication, the power will come, the home runs will come. He's that kind of hitter, heavy bat.
Payoff pitch, swing and a miss. Got him. 7th strikeout for Riggleman, and he just looks so comfortable out there on the bump.
Yeah, both of these pitchers have really looked very in control of this game thus far. Some late dip maybe on that fastball as well. I'm just trying to get a look at the replay. Haven't seen it come through yet, but just underneath the barrel there for Abaret.
Now J.D. Stubbs, designated hitter, struck out swinging in the first inning to end the first. Fouls that one away. Watches it go by for ball 1. Stubbs, 262 average the first 12 games for him. All of them, of his hits that is, have been singles. A 262 slugging to go along with that batting average. The 2-1 in there to even up the count. Riggleman working quickly. The 2-2 low and in towards the knees. Another full count, the second of the inning for Adam Riggleman.
could tell the reaction. He really wanted to finish off J.D. Stubbs there. See what he comes with here in a 3-2.
Payoff pitch again. This one's skied foul. Parkinson is there, drifting away. Lambert comes over too. Parkinson dishes the mask and will make the grab for out number 2. A little bit of a tougher one to track there for Parkinson.
Yeah, kind of a little zigzag here, there, but he was able to get himself with a decent amount of time in position where he saw the ball was going to land.
Here's Marcos Castillo, who's got one of the only 3 total hits that Riggleman has given up so far.
It's 8 straight retired.
He had a sharp single to left his first time up. Castillo is one of those guys who kind of embodies what we talked about in the pregame, that fun, high spirit kind of guy. Directly back to the screen on that foul ball, 0-2. But you got to think he's one of those guys who just really adds a fun locker room presence and makes it fun to be his teammate, and that's why we talked about they've won so many games lately, this Beavers team has. 0-2 is outside.
I think it takes a certain amount of humbleness to be at this level as well, because everybody obviously wants to move on to the next level, and maybe guys were
popped him up again. Parkinson, almost the exact same thing. He'll leave it for Lambert this time. And 3 up, 3 down for Riggleman. 9 in a row. Still 1-0 as we head to the 5th on the USPBL Network.
Every summer, my family loves to have a neighborhood movie night in our backyard. And with my Chevy Blazer, I can head out and get everything we need for a great night. It has plenty of room for picking up friends, and the available hands-free liftgate is perfect for loading unhandy supplies. You know, it may be movie night, but my Blazer is the main attraction wherever I go.
Lease a 2022 Blazer 2LT for just $239 a month for 24 months. Put it in D and see why Chevy drives the Motor City.
Back here, top of the 5th, Austin Shea comes out for his 5th inning of work. It was a great 4th inning, 3 up, 3 down, all on strikes. And the 3 best hitters currently in the Unicorns lineup, Sakopoulos, Childress, and Lambert, the 4, 5, and 6 hitters. Obviously means the 7, 8, 9 are due up. Luis Attilis, Matt Parkinson, and John Hodo here in the 5th.
Could really see the confidence building over his last few starts. His last appearance wasn't a start just because the Beavers had to go with a bullpen day. Not a lot of games last week publicly or privately, really because of the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby. But regardless, he's a different looking pitcher on the mound, and that's showing in his stats as well, and what he's able to do to hitters. It's easy to be confident, I guess, after you strike out the side, but it's just the way he's carrying himself, which is so different.
He's got that 7-letter word, starts with an S. You know what it is?
No.
Swagger.
Oh, okay.
He's got that going for him lately, and it's fun to see. Here's Attilis, a sharp single to right center field his first time up. We talked about his bat coming alive recently, and that was another indication of it. First pitch swinging, fastball at 88, missed it. Oh, and 2, Shea, similar to Riggleman. Both of these guys have done a nice job getting ahead in counts. Surprisingly, despite the fact that both of them have got ahead in a lot of these counts, they've fallen to full counts as well after that. That one's pretty close there, under the strike zone at 89. Will not get the call for ball 1. But still, even getting ahead 0-2 and then catching up 2-2 or 3-2, you're still at an advantage as a pitcher to get that third strike after getting ahead 0-2. It's clearly been a focal point for both of these guys today. The 1-2, Attilas fought it off.
It's obviously right where you want to be to the bottom of the order here as well, and we've talked about it. This isn't your characteristic 7, 8, 9 in terms of a hitter, but
no. And that one misses outside to even up the count. Like we talked about, getting ahead 0-2, and now evening it up is Shea. Outfield and infield both straight up on Attilas. Castillo plays maybe a step left to second base. Swing and a miss. Top of the zone. Fastball at 89. 4 straight strikeouts for Austin Shea. All of them on swings brings up Matt Parkinson. Kind of want to go back to a point I started to make earlier that we didn't get to finish. For all you young ones at home, if you want to suit up in the catcher's gear and sit behind the plate for the rest of your baseball career and be a catcher, watch this game today. Not just Matt Parkinson, who we've talked about ad nauseum, but also Felix Abarrete. You know, both of these guys, not just great defensive catchers, as Parkinson right on cue will get one to drop in front of Ramirez for a single. Thought about stretching, now has to get back quickly. Little bloop single for Matt Parkinson. And finally, after 7 in a row retired, gets a base runner for the Unicorns. But back to my point, him and Abarrete are great on both sides of the ball, defensively as catchers, and 2 of the best hitters in their respective lineups as well. I mean, just take note of what they do. They have been so much fun to watch, and it's really a sight to see these guys be so good offensively. You don't really see that a lot from catchers. First pitch to Hodo misses for ball 1. Slurve outside, so now with that little bit of a distraction over there at first base, Shea falls behind 2-0 on a good hitter, Hodo, who had a single his first time up.
We've kind of talked about how hard it is to be a catcher here as well, because at times there can be guys in and out, and new guys, you know, shoved right in your face. Maybe they just showed up today or the other day, and you've never caught them, but you have to catch them in a game.
3-0 to Hodo. Shea finds the zone. Much needed strike 1.
It certainly takes the right kind of mindset to be able to deal with that. You know, maybe understanding, hey, look, I might not know their stuff the best, but
Parkinson faked like he was going to go and then pulled back. Now a full count.
Had that conversation with Shane McCaddy on the air when he joined us during the All-Star game as well. Him obviously being a former pitcher in this league, in fact.
There goes Parkinson on the 3-2, fouled away. It seems like for the most part, all the catchers in this league do have that attitude, though. I think when you think of Duncan Hewitt and Whit Hughes and Nick Caruso, and obviously these 2 guys, Felix Abarrete and Matt Parkinson, even Dakota McFadden, who's played a little bit of catcher, they all have that can-do attitude, and that they're just going to do whatever it takes. Parkinson goes on the 3-2, and it misses outside. That's the first walk of the day for Austin Shea. Comes at a critical spot with just a 1-run lead. Now there's 2 on and 1 out for the top of the order, Drew Galassi.
And this is where you kind of watch Austin Shea and see how he reacts to a moment like this. Obviously, a single by Parkinson and then the walk after not walking a batter for this whole game. Did things unravel? His pitch count still isn't all too bad for being the 5th inning. But I think they'd love to see him at least go through 5, maybe 6 here today, the way it's started for Shea. This is a big batter right here, though.
Galassi 2 for 2 on the day already. 2 sharp singles, both to the pull side and right field. He's seeing the ball well. And for Shea, pretty average hitting for his opponents with runners on, 246. The 1-0 fought off foul, 91 miles an hour. Good fastball from Austin Shea.
Galassi obviously not an easy guy to double off either. Has above average speed as we talked about earlier, but
And Hodo as well at first base. He's going to be tough to get out even at second on a properly hit ball in the infield. Shea deliberate with his pacing, the 1-1 swing and a miss.
And neither of these starting pitchers here today have had to be deliberate for any reason. They've been pretty locked in, a base runner here or there. But this is the biggest, quote, jam we've seen so far today.
That walk to John Hodo is the first one for either pitcher in this game. Now the 1-2. Outside, evens it up. Glossy with 3 home runs and 8 RBIs this year, and another RBI situation here with Parkinson waiting at second.
Seems like these hitters have gotten a little bit more selective in the last couple innings for the Unicorns, paying dividends.
2-2 slurve, and Glossy couldn't catch up to it. I think that had him froze a little bit, and he threw the bat at it in hopes to make some contact, and he wasn't able to. Another strikeout, good recovery from Austin Shea.
Yeah, I'm with you. You could tell him start his swing like, oh boy, I got to continue this swing. This is a slurve that's coming at me a bit more slower maybe than I expected at 78 miles an hour. Another good slurve, though, here today. I think maybe one of his best so far this year. Not that one, just as a whole line of work.
That one ran inside on Bolin, had to scoop the hands back in for ball 1. Bolin looking to kind of redeem himself for his first 2 at-bats. Struck out after the leadoff hitter Glossy got on in the first and then grounded into an unassisted 6-3 double play. That one fouled off, swing and a miss, not quite sure. There was contact. It might have hit the plate.
Yeah, I think it tipped off the helmet of Aberrett, barely.
Now 1-1 on Bolin. Has done really well this year with runners on, .333. And the 1-1. Got the call for strike 2. Bolin was the only strikeout looking for Austin Shea so far today. He's got 7 of them, all of them on swings except for this guy. Now 1-2. Off the end of the bat, foul. Bolin stays alive.
That pitch has been pesky for Bolin here today. Just gets a piece of it there. In a key spot, looking to tie this game at least here in the 5th.
Both infield and outfield play Bolin straight up. Above the zone for ball 2. And yet again, Shea gets ahead, and now we have another even count. Parkinson got on with a bloop single to right field his first time. And then Hodo got on with a walk. That's where we are, first and second, 2 outs. Bolin puts this one out to right in the air. Ramirez will glide under it and collect it for out number 3. So a little bit of a jam for Austin Shea, but he gets out of it as we head to the home half of the 5th on the US PBL Network.
Make your move with a quick and easy mortgage from Genesis Credit Union. We have mortgages to fit your life. Genesis Credit Union. Visit us today.
There are many things you can rely on in this world, like a sunny day brightening your mood, your mom baking the world's best apple pie, and never a dull moment in running your business. And when it comes to time-consuming HR tasks, you can rely on Tryon. Tryon can handle payroll and taxes, employee benefits, and more, so you can stay focused on attracting and retaining the best talent. With Tryon, you don't have to grow it alone. Visit RelyOnTryon.com.
You can always rely on Tryon.
Get great seats, safer, simpler, and smarter with TicketSmarter. Choose great seats from over 125,000 live events, all backed with a TicketSmarter 100% ticket guarantee. Get your tickets smarter at TicketSmarter.com.
One thing.
So Adam Riggleman will step out for his 5th inning as well, just like Austin Shea. And the two have been fantastic so far. Shea with 7 strikeouts, only 1 walk, was able to get out of that jam last inning. Riggleman himself has 7 Ks as well.
No action in either pen. We've seen a little bit of stretching, but I think that's more routine in the Beavers pen than anything else. Both of these guys have worked the pitch count very well. Riggleman's got a nice out streak, which has included most of his strikeouts. He struck out 2 in the first and then gave up that leadoff single in the second. Ever since, though, piling up the outs. Fun to watch from these two guys here today.
9 in a row and 10 of the last 11 batters faced for Riggleman. The Beavers kind of expected Shea to do this. They thought they could try to get 6 out of him maybe before they lean on the bullpen. I don't know if the Unicorns quite thought Riggleman would be in this position through 4 innings. In a good, efficient spot, go out there and start the 5th. First pitch to Guzman, fouled out of play on the right field line.
This is kind of the spot in the game where you really look at in pitchers. I feel like in today's baseball it's really magnified. Maybe not as much here in the USPBL, but getting towards that third time face through the order. You saw maybe a little bit more patience off of Austin Shea, which led to a few more base runners, but in the end, good job by him to strand those base runners. The biggest jam of the day, really, besides the run scored.
Yeah, the 0-2 on Guzman, nice breaking ball. He was able to fight it off in on the hands. 7, 8, 9 hitters after Guzman will be Eric Ramirez and Chris Davis. And if we should get there, the top of the order, as you mentioned, Jeremy, would have their 3rd visit against Riggleman. That one's above the zone, ball 1.
We were kind of talking to Shane McCaddy before the game about analytics and, his thoughts on them in the game today.
Fought off foul.
And I think he echoed what I'm sure a lot of maybe old school and or, people who have been in the game a long time would say as well. Look, the numbers are good. They tell you good things, but, they can only go too far. And certainly for a player, that's true too. You can only digest so much and put it into your game, what you're trying to do.
Guzman watches it go. Good eye, ball 2. And, yeah, I think that's important. You start crunching the numbers too much and it eventually becomes all that you're thinking about and worried about. Ooh, Riggleman wanted that call and instead is not going to get it full count.
With these pitchers especially, it's not only analytics that are being looked at, but it's also video. Deep video breakdowns.
3-2 popped him up. Hodo and Sikopoulos are there. It will be Hodo to collect it for out number 1. We saw Shane McCaddy kind of breaking it down for us, the physics of what DVS, and Justin Ornduff and those guys are all about and how it's supposed to look and what, when it looks like this, what that means and what it doesn't mean and how it's good and bad. And really interesting stuff to see him kind of show us firsthand the physics of pitching and how the motion is supposed to go and, what happens when it doesn't go that way and why it works and why it doesn't.
Just the subtlest misplacement of any of your moving parts, if they like to call it, in your delivery can mess a lot of things up.
Ramirez spoils that one foul. I jokingly retorted to Shane and said, you mean to tell me pitching's complicated? the way it works, and it really is. And like you said, it's that, that physical chain of events, and if something breaks down, everything can be messed up. It's one thing he talked about, and that's why it's so important for the process to be right and you to have all the right movements at the right time. As Ramirez fights another one off foul.
Checking to see if he broke that bat. Looks like he did.
It sounded like it. Interesting thing we haven't talked about yet. Eric Ramirez, as you'll notice, is hitting on the left side. And to our viewers who have been paying close attention all year, that's a new thing for him. He was a righty and is listed as a righty hitter when he got to the USPBL and was through his first few games, both with the Unicorns and the Beavers. Suffered a little bit of a wrist injury on a diving play when he was playing in the infield in a game and took a couple days off. But since he's come back, hits on the left side. And he said that's because he was a switch hitter in high school and his coaches liked the power more so that he had on the right side. But Vaughn Joshua and Josh Hines love his swing from the left side. They love lefty bats, like we know. And he says it's a much more controlled and more contact-favorable swing, and it's been good for him the past couple games. 1-2 fouled off.
And I asked him, hey, is that weird for you? Obviously, you've done it before, but haven't done it in a game since high school. I was like, no, And he said, hey, I've been doing it in the cages here or there at least, and get a real deep dive on how much he did it. But it's impressive to make that switch at this level on the dot.
Swing and a miss there. Adam Riggleman, a nice pitch. His 8th strikeout of the day. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I think we hadn't, going back to our point on Ramirez, he's been doing that for 3 or 4 games now, hitting from the left side, and this is the first time we've talked about it. And I think that's almost a credit to him for how comfortable and natural it looks. We didn't even really think twice when we first saw it. Here's another lefty behind Ramirez is Chris Davis.
He's got a good guy trying to teach him back into it if that's what he decides to do going forward in terms of switch hitting. Vaughn has handled a lot of those guys in around the same level, hitting coach in the minor leagues at various organizations for a long time.
0-2, Davis puts this one out into center. Galassi has to come in. That will drop. 2-strike hitting from Chris Davis, who struck out his first time up. And the Beavers have a 2-out base runner.
That's the interesting thing he had to say about it. He brought up a number of guys that either the organization identified, hey, we want this guy to be a switch hitter, or they, brought something out. And certain guys, pick it up at different rates, just like anything else. But it's the work it takes to do something like that. It's not a simple task because you have muscle memory going from one side of the plate to the other. He said, hey, half of it is adjusting your grip.
Collette puts this one out into right field, and Castro, looking right into the sun, had to take a few shallow steps and make the grab, and that's out number 3. Riggleman faces 4, retires 3 of them. 6th inning, Jeremy Otto takes over when we come back.
First State Bank is a locally owned and operated business. We're part of your community. At fsbcares.com, you'll find ways that we're making a difference by featuring locally owned and operated businesses, providing access to helpful financial resources, and engaging with community. FSBcares.com is part of our commitment to the neighborhood because strong neighbors mean stronger communities. Where good neighbors do great things. Member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
Jimmy John's Field is the perfect venue for birthday parties, summer picnics, company outings, and provides the best entertainment in Metro Detroit with great baseball all summer long. Spend your summer nights under the lights at Jimmy John's Field in historic downtown Utica.
Austin Shea back on the mound here in the 6th inning. He's done a heck of a job along with his counterpart here today, Adam Riggleman, who just got through 5, giving up no runs and scattering, or 1 run and scattering 4 hits so far here today. Mr. Shea has struck out 7 himself. He walked his first with 1 out back in the 5th. And that was impressive after that. He had a 1-out single to Parkinson and then the walk to Hodo. Galassi at the top of the order at the plate. Struck him out swinging. Then got a fly out on a 2-2 battle with Malik Bolin. So Shea checking a lot of the boxes so far here today. Limiting walks, which he's done a really nice job his last 3 or 4 appearances. Getting ahead in counts quicker, which he's done pretty efficiently here today. First pitch to Leandy Castro. Ball outside, 1-0. Bringing that good breaking ball to the mix as well. Mostly been fastball slurs so far here today for Shea. Now the 1-0. There it is. First strike number 1. Castro today has popped out twice. 1 to McFadden at first. 1 to Aberrett behind the plate. Blankenship now begins to tune up down the left field line here for the Beavers. Castro looks at a ball, 2-1. Sixth inning here today, brought to you by Budweiser. We thank Budweiser for their partnership with the USPBL. A lot of room up the middle, the 2-1. Fastball away. Take a peek at that, 86 on the fastball. A little bit of dip in that velo. He's been 88, 89 on average today. Hit 91, I believe, very early. 3-1 away with the changeup there, and that's a leadoff walk here in the sixth. So this is the third time through for the middle of the order here. Castro, Sikopoulos, and Childress. Sikopoulos here today has surprisingly struck out twice. In fact, 4 through 6 are a combined 0 for 6 with 5 Ks. Won't see that very often to this part of the Unicorns lineup. First pitch slurve in for strike one. Now the 0-1. Fly ball, going to hang up there though in right center field. Sikopoulos slams the bat down as Castillo records out number one.
Yeah, another hard hit ball for Ari. I think maybe just a little frustrated that he got too far under it. We've seen him, as you mentioned, Jeremy, do that a lot this year, get them high in the sky.
We talked about that home run derby the other day, and if you missed it, you can certainly rewind on Facebook or YouTube. But it was funny because I was down near the cages when Ari was taking BP. That one full to third. It ate up Collette. And now both runners will advance here. There's runners on first and second with one out. Ari was just like, boy, it's going to be a long day in this derby if these balls fly like it is right now in BP. Just nothing virtually going out to right field for the lefties. That certainly changed by the time the derby came around because the lefties were some of the more impressive power showings with him and Kreitzer combining for that. But it is really interesting to see how much these conditions do shift just throughout the day here at the ballpark, as this one is in for strike one. Sometimes the wind is just ripping in BP and it just cools off like it is right now. We've had virtually no wind here today. The flags are limp. Seems like more the trend lately. The 0-1. Slurve up top on the plate there. 0-2 on Lambert now.
And it seems like lately we've seen the wind be a bigger factor earlier in the day. It tends to have more of an effect on the day games and batting practice, like you mentioned. But once we get to the evenings, it seems to die down a little bit.
0-2, fastball away, 1-2 on Lambert. He's also 0 for 2 today. Ground out, strikeout. Trying to snap that right here in a big spot. Beavers still clinching on to a one-run lead. The 1-2. Fastball outside. 2-2 on Lambert. Shea deciding to go from the windup here in the sixth inning with the 2 runners on. We saw him go from the stretch in the third and the fifth as well with some runners on base. The 2-2. Swing and a miss. The slurve is by him. And that's strikeout number 8 today. It's got to be a season high, right?
I believe so. I think he might have had 8 in one other outing. I don't think we've seen Shea get into double digits yet. We've only seen a select few number of pitchers league-wide reach 10 or more strikeouts in a game.
As far as I know, there's nobody who's gone past 6 innings so far this year either. This one is popped up foul, at least 6 or 7 complete.
I think Jackson for the Beavers, the only guy to make it through 7 complete this year.
Is he really? Well, then you could have just put that in the talkback. You didn't have to put that. No, I'm kidding.
Pretty close. Only one guy.
Probably wasn't here for that. Here's the 0-1.
You were not. That's correct.
Swing and a miss. Fastball at 89. So if there's any questions about the velo, he's gotten it right back to his average. as this inning is tapered on. This might be his last batter. Looks like Blankenship is ready down in the pen, or at least his last couple. Wouldn't see him stretching into the 7th at this point with 97 tosses. Here's 98. High and away. I think that pitch right there, obviously he missed on that one, but that's been the difference in some of these starts going towards the middle of this season. He would miss quite a bit on that outside pitch to right-handed batters, but he's been finding the zone a lot more as the season has gone on. Punched, McFadden right over there. Shea is covering, and the margins are thin, but Austin Shea gets through 6, walks just 2, and strikes out 8. Really nice performance by Shea if his outing is done.
They call me Prospects. Since the day I was born as a diver's watch, the challengers of the world have taught me many things. Life is not a numbers game. It's about challenging ourselves. No matter what happens, just follow your heart. These pioneers drive our generation forward. Not by setting records, but by never giving up. Keep going forward. Prospects.
Available at Lucido Fine Jewelry.
Dunham Sports is a proud partner of the USPBL. Big names, low prices, delivering value since 1937.
You hear about the pro?
Adam Riggleman also reaching into the 6th inning here, 70 pitches through 5. He's also struck out 8 batters, has not walked 1. Only run given up was back in the 1st. That was a 2-out double after he retired the first 2 batters he faced. And a single and an error off the bat of Aberrett allowed the only run of the ball game to score. That's why we have a 1-0 Beavers lead here in the bottom of the 6th.
Sounds like this is a pretty similar game through 5.5 innings as our morning game today, game 1 between these two teams. Zach Devon was the starter for the Beavers. He went 5 innings and only gave up a run, and it wasn't until the Beavers reached the bullpen that the Unicorns were able to put up 6 runs total on the board.
There's a little bit of stirring going on in that Unicorns pen, but not much, just a little bit of stretching. So you'd think that they at least want Riggleman to go through this 6th.
Yeah, and they've really only got Bewley and Camacho hot here for game 2. Keon Taylor is sick today. Calo Pietro threw in game 1. Fiorito threw in game 1. Montaner threw earlier this week. So they want Riggleman to get as far as he can, and he's been very efficient so far through 5.
89 into the glove, 1-2 on Luke Fenley. And this is the last game of the week for the Unicorns. It'll be Beavers Mammoths tomorrow, and then Hoppers Mammoths on Saturday in a doubleheader. Poked outside of the outstretched glove of Lambert, loses the shades, and an infield hit for Fenley here in the 6th.
I like the decision from Attilis, kind of the inverse of the only time a runner came across for the Beavers when he had a tough bounding ball up the middle, decided to try to throw the runner out at first. That one a little bit harder, obviously a much more difficult throw deeper in the hole, but he decided not to try to get the speedy Fenley. I don't know if he would have gotten even with a perfect throw, but decided to just eat it and take his medicine there.
Outfield deep, infield look for that double play against McFadden as that fastball rides away from Dakota. 1-for-2, double in the 1st, ground out in the 3rd. That was a part of one of the 2 1, 2, 3 innings that Riggleman has had here today. The third and the fourth, back-to-back. Decent lead for Fenley. Nice hopping secondary as well as McFadden misses that fastball.
Surprised to see Riggleman work up in the zone. I think that's why you see McFadden jumping on that pitch. You expect Riggleman to be down in the zone to induce that ground ball double play. But he was able to get away with it. That good velocity on the fastball got by McFadden.
So Dakota ahead 2-1 here. Riggleman will step off. Off the end of the bat and into center field, a base hit. So here come the Beavers again here in the sixth. Big part of the lineup coming up. Aberrett, Stubbs, Castillo trying to expand this slim lead with the way that the Unicorns can swing it, and the bullpen likely coming in the next inning. Blankenship was ready and has begun throwing again just to stay loose out there, but you'd like an assurance run or two, you'd think.
Yeah, especially for this Beavers bullpen like we talked about. We saw what happened in game one where Devin had a good 5 and the bullpen was what kind of broke down in that game.
Line drive to left, a base hit. Fenley had to immediately freeze back to the bag, so no chance for him to go from second to home. Fenley at third, McFadden at second. 3 singles in a row, not hit extremely hard, but just getting the job done here from 2, 3, 4 in the lineup.
The Unicorns pretty lucky. Usually single, single, single equals at least 1 run, especially with a speedy guy like Fenley at second base, but that was a pretty perfectly hit ball to left field to hold Fenley at third. Wouldn't have been surprised, though, to see them test the arm of Bolin like we talked about, who hasn't played left field all that much in his entire career. This is his 4th start out there. He's confident in his arm, though. Him and Ramirez have a gentleman's bet for tonight. You know, Ramirez says if he hits one to left, he's going to go for 2. And if he can beat the throw from Bolin, Bolin owes him a drink. And obviously on the inverse, if Ramirez is out at second.
First pitch to J.D. Stubbs away, 1-0. Stubbs, like Brendan mentioned earlier, still looking for his first professional extra base hit.
Be a pretty good time to get one right here, huh?
Sure would. 0 for 2 today as well. Strikeout, pop out.
It's been one of the more surprising things from him is the lack of power we've seen in the first few at-bats from him. Obviously, just looking at him and his build, 6'2", 221, a lot of it muscle. You'd expect quite a bit of power. Very good contact hitter, though. He's done a fantastic job of just putting balls in play.
2-0, line to left, a base hits. Fenley will score. McFadden being waved around, the throw cut off, a chance! Not in time as it hops in to Parkinson, and the characteristic big fist pump by McFadden as he scores the second run here in the 6th to make it 3-0.
Well, there's a good time for Stubbs to get his first professional RBIs with the 2 right there. It was a close play at the plate. I think you expect a little bit better of a throw from Lambert. McFadden, not a characteristically speedy guy, but had enough to force what needed to be a good throw and just wasn't. Obviously, you know, quarter of the way from third to home plate. You expect Lambert to get it there in the air, and Parkinson kind of had to stop it in front of him on a hop, and that really disallowed him to put on a good tag.
Ever since the bases were loaded, that guy has been throwing. Brian Camacho throws heat. We've been seeing that velocity tick up and tick up and tick up as the year has gone on, and that's really all you can ask for. Maybe a little bit of an extra beat here as Adrian Guzman looks to buy a pitch or two more. Riggleman looks pretty loose out there, doesn't he?
Yeah. This is the first real sign of any trouble we've seen for him.
And you can't fault him necessarily. The contact has been there, but it really hasn't been hard on any of these hits.
Yeah, I wouldn't characterize any of these singles as necessarily hard hit balls, just well placed.
First pitch to Marcos Castillo. Curveball low, 1-0.
And we kind of knew it was only a matter of time before either, if not both, of these lineups broke through this game and started a little bit of a rally.
The 1-0. Another curveball that dips in for strike one. He's kind of ditched away from the breaking ball here in the sixth, but with maybe some of the feel for the fastball tapering, brings it right back, what he's comfortable with. There's a slider away, 2-1 on Castillo. Single back in the second, a pop out in the fourth. That's sixth here today in Von Joshua's lineup. Fastball away, 3-1 on Castillo now. Brett on second, Stubbs on first. He's the reason why this game has been opened up a little bit. 1-0 for a long time, ever since the first until now. He will again walk the bases loaded here in the sixth, so I think probably just a matter of how quickly Camacho can get ready to go. And that might be right now as Jim Essien takes a slow walk out to the mound. The second visit here in the sixth. Camacho has seen the fastball top out at 96. We'll bring that in when we get back on the USPBL Network. So Brian Camacho takes over for Adam Riggleman here in the sixth. Riggleman got himself into a jam. Single walk. Has already plated 2 runs, but we still have the bases loaded with no outs recorded here in the sixth. First pitch to Wellington Guzman. Fastball at 93 that rides inside. A lot of these batters' lines pretty much the same. Guzman 0 for 2 as well. Strikeout and a pop out. It's been that kind of day against these 2, now 3 arms used. 1-0. Fastball tails in. 2-0 now. Camacho, very much been a strike thrower. The spin rates are impressive, noted by the coaching staff as well. Some above average spin on all his pitches, really. Now the 2-0. Can't throw a strike here, though. 3-0 on Wellington Guzman.
Yeah, kind of an uncharacteristic first batter for Camacho. Might have to do with everywhere he turns, he sees a man in white on the base paths. Some relievers just are much more comfortable starting innings rather than inheriting a jam.
He will walk a batter here with the bases loaded and still no outs. Aberrett comes home, the third run scored, now 4-0 Beavers. Here comes Eric Ramirez now. Camacho visibly frustrated there as he steps off the hill. Sacappo is giving him a little pep talk.
And just some words of encouragement, telling him to likely slow down, calm down, worry about this batter. Don't worry about any of the base runners. Don't worry about the score right now, how many outs there are. Just get this guy out.
First pitch to Eric Ramirez off the plate outside. Did you by chance read the Athletic article that came out about Max Scherzer?
No.
It was just a bunch of quotes from all his former catchers on his mentality. There was some funny ones in there from Alex Avila when he caught him here in Detroit. What he would say when he visited him on the mound. Here's the 1-0 pitch in there for strike one. One time he talked about Max Scherzer was very big into fantasy football. And he was the commissioner of the league, and he made some rules that people didn't necessarily like. But anyway, Avila came to the mound, pick it up after this pitch here. Now the 1-1, low, 2-1 on Eric Ramirez, and offered him a fantasy football trade when he was struggling. And Scherzer paused, I think kind of shocked, just from the print story that I saw. Now the 2-1 on the ground. That is going to be into the glove of Hodo. Twirls and just nips Ramirez at first base. Regardless, a run will score. J.D. Stubbs crosses the plate, and now it's 5-0 Beavers here in the sixth. Castillo advances to third. Guzman to second. So Scherzer pauses, and he looks at Avila and says, I'm going to have to think about that one. And Alex says, okay, as he goes back behind home plate. I thought that was really funny.
Well, Scherzer is widely known in major leagues as a bit of a psycho in a good way. You know, he's just, got that crazy competitive spirit and fiery mentality. Really fantastic dude, though. He's a beloved player here in Detroit. Alex Avila, too.
No doubt. Alex doing a nice job on radio these days. Here's the 0-1. Fastball away at 93.
I was just going to say that, working with our friend and mentor Dan Dickerson on 97.1. Listened to the last few road games for the Tigers, and Alex is very good on radio. Provides a lot of good insight, some good storytelling, too. I think it's nice when you can have a player who, as recently as Avila, has played in the major leagues, can give some insight into the game. A lot of the pitchers that, they see and some of the hitters out there, he says, yeah, I played with this guy and I caught against this guy and, caught this pitcher and stuff. And it's really cool stuff that you don't get a lot.
2-1 is high, and we've kind of already talked about it, here with some of our USPBL guys, but the catcher has such a front row seat to everything. They're calling the pitches, obviously. They're game planning against these hitters, along with the advanced scouting reports that Major League guys get these days. But 3-1 high and away. Camacho mightily struggling with his command control so far here today, which is a bit of a surprise. That will again reload the bases here in the sixth.
And Camacho, who came into this game with a strikeout rate just below 16 compared to a walk rate right at 7. Surprised to see him walk 2 of his first 3 batters. But back to your point about catchers, I think, to a pedestrian baseball fan, they don't realize that catchers are really the quarterbacks of their respective teams. I think they don't get a lot of the credit that they might deserve for the impact they have on the game and the mindset that goes into. I mean, if I talked to a bunch of the people here at the USPBL are former catchers, and I said, you're going to be my guy, my baseball guy, that if I have questions about literally anything, I'm going to come to you, because catchers just always have such great baseball minds.
0-1 in the hands. Is that one lifted back to the screen? 0-2. So you've just ruined everybody's day. They thought they were special because you thought they were coming to them specifically. And
yeah.
Now it's just every catcher.
Well, I don't know how many of them actually listen to us, but whoever you are special to me.
Now the 0-2 swing and a miss. Camacho with a little fist pump there. Good slider. As that now completes the bat around here in the 6th inning as well between Camacho and Riggleman.
You got any tips for my scorebook here? I've never done this before. 10 in an inning.
Well, how many? Oh, you only have 9 columns. You're
right.
you're really kicking it there.
Flirting with danger here.
Well, what I'm going to do is cross off everything to the right. The 7th is now the 7th is now the 6-2, and the 8th is now the 7th, and vice versa.
Yeah, you've got 15 innings available over there. That's pretty.
We'll never see that
neat.
here either, I guess. So.
Yeah.
Good and bad.
Most you only need with our extra innings rules are 10, maybe 11.
1-0, somehow hit the bat. Collette is like, come on, man. How did that happen? The run on that fastball, though, from Camacho. Contributing to that. Now the 1-1 to Fenley on the ground foul. One and two on Luke, the second baseman here today, and a single back in the 6th. The 1-2 again. Ooh, landing spot looked a bit off there for Camacho. Slider there from Brian. 2-2. Base is still loaded with 2 outs, 4 runs in, and it looks like Parkinson called time there. Now the even pitch again. Swing and a miss. Good slider. You can tell just the way that Camacho really wanted to get off that mound. Wasn't happy the way that inning went. Did limit the damage to an extent. 4 runs do score. It's now 5-0 Beavers here on the USPBL network.
Promo that Jimmy's John's got going on. 5 off 20? How are they pulling it off? Magic? You got David's Copperfields in there? Show yourself, Copperfields!
Jimmy John's. $5 off orders of 20 or more.
What makes Detroit Mercy so unique is the fact that it's in the middle of Detroit. The urban setting is really fantastic to be a part of, and especially with their service learning programs, you really get a chance to be a part of the community.
My education here isn't just academic. This school wants you to be the best you that you can be. All aspects of the things that I do here have participated in giving back.
Detroit Mercy. Build a boundless future.
Slide into a new home. Work with a local mortgage pro who works for you. Get a cheaper, faster, easier home loan. Find a mortgage broker near you today at findamortgagebroker.com.
As we expected, Austin Shea is done in this game. He goes 6 complete here today. Strikes out 8 and walks 2. Those 2 walks in the last couple innings of work. So Zach Blankenship will take over here in the 7th.
Blankenship has been the pretty trusty, all reliable first arm out of the pen in most games this year for the Beavers. Has some good stuff, some pretty around average numbers, an ERA just above 4, strikeout rate around 8, walk rate around 3. Those are a little bit better than most strikeout and walk rates league-wide.
So we've seen a couple relievers now for these two teams. Blankenship, fastball, slider, changeup, splitter, forkball. Splitter slash forkball is what he calls it, but the native of Jacksonville, Florida, look to keep this game right where it is, as his team has kind of run away from it all of a sudden. 4.41 ERA for Blankenship through 9 appearances.
Certainly cannot count out this Unicorns lineup, though, as we've seen a number of times this year. They've been down 4, 5, 6 runs and found a way back into the game.
Jake Martin will grab a bat and pinch hit for Parkinson, likely taking over behind the plate in the next half inning as well. One of the newer additions to the USPBL is Martin. Lefty and righty matchup here. Parkinson was 1 for 2 with a single. Fastball at 90. Pumped high, 1-0.
Surprised to see this substitution. Parkinson, as we talked about, has been one of the best bats in the lineup for the Unicorns, is arguably the best defensive catcher, although that's a close race league-wide, but one of the best defensive catchers in the league.
Yeah, maybe just with the game earlier, trying to give his legs a break. 1-1, ooh, tough slider in on the hands. Tough pitch to track right off the bench. 1-2 on Martin now.
Yeah, especially, like you said, right off the bench, you haven't been looking at pitches all day. That one looks like a fastball high and away, or usually right down the middle, until it gets about halfway there, and all of a sudden it's in your hands.
John Hodo would be next, and Drew Galassi, the top of the order. One-two, swing and a miss. Best fastball tonight at 91. That's now 9 Ks by this Unicorns offense here tonight.
That's what Blankenship is here to do. Step in out of the pen and strike guys out, limit base runners.
A little bit more of the bullpen used in game 1 of this day for the Beavers than the Unicorns. We talked about it earlier. Just 2 arms used in that 11 o'clock game for Adrian Guzman and Jim Essien. Quick strike 1 here to John Hodo. Blankenship has gotten that fastball up to 92 so far this year. He's averaged 89-90. Been pretty consistent at that. 0-1, try to check it, and they said he did go around.
Might have even just been a strike regardless. Pretty good pitch from Blankenship up and away.
Now the 0-2, swing and a miss. Pounded the fastball outside. How about Blankenship doing exactly what the doctor ordered here in the 7th?
Well, when he first stepped on, one of the things you said, Jeremy, was coming in to hold this game where it is, and I retorted with, don't count this Unicorns roster out too soon, but 2 strikeouts at the bottom of the order is a pretty good way to start the 7th with a 5-run lead. Only 1 called ball.
Here's a new challenge, the top of the order in Drew Galassi, fastball high. A little bit of a chill in the air as it's cooled off. Funny to say that 74 is chilly, but
it is.
That's what it feels like.
It is chilly, though.
After the sun-soaked days that we've been having here in Michigan.
We're spoiled for 3 months and then miserable the other 9, so I guess might as well take advantage of it, right?
I think everybody's always complaining about something. It's either too hot, too cold, too much snow, too much rain.
Count me in as everybody.
1-1 in for strike 2.
I will say I rarely will be one of the ones who says there's too much sun. I enjoy the nice warm weather. Like I said, for what little time that we have it, got to be grateful.
And those shady winters with no sun sometimes. 1-2, slider away, 2-2 on Galassi.
As we've talked about, you and I, alumni of U of D Jesuit High School down there in Detroit. And I remember the days, in winter, waking up at 7:30 in the morning, heading to school during the dark, and then, you got basketball practice or extracurriculars after school, and you head home at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and it's dark again, and you just didn't see light all day.
2-2 popped him up. Collette and company. Not quite enough space. It bangs off the railing where it meets the netting there. Put your button-up shirt on, the tie on.
Yeah, I was a sweater guy. I always wore a sweater. Very rarely was in just a shirt and tie.
You weren't carrying around the jacket where you could get in trouble for that.
No. Only in a free period. I did lose one once. It may or may not have been taken by another student. That still remains an unsolved mystery to this day. But after that, I did no longer carry around the jacket.
2-2 here on Galassi. 7th inning brought to you by Fifth Third Bank. We thank Fifth Third Bank for their partnership with the USPBL network this year. Galassi takes a tight pitch. It's called for ball 3. Works some counts here today as he usually does. At the top of this lineup playing center field. That's been an easy pencil in for Jim Essien this year. Ramirez plays him deep on the edge of the warning track and right. 3-2, whiffed dead and missed. Zach Blankenship K's the side here in the 7th. Offense to pitching to defense, all has been working for the Beavers here today. That's your 7th inning stretch here today, brought to you by Genesis Credit Union on the USPBL network. Time for Take Me Out to the Ball Game as well after this. Brian Camacho takes over on the mound, or continues on the mound, I should say, here in the 7th inning. Actually, that's not Camacho. That's actually Perry Bewley. Kind of similar looking motions. Camacho faced technically just 2/3 of an inning, even though he faced a number of batters in that 7th. Didn't quite look like himself for whatever reason, but Bewley trying to anchor down this game and keep it at what is a large spread right now, 5-0.
Bewley's been a safely reliable arm this year, all year for the Unicorns. The only guys league-wide with more than one save. Yeah, he only has 2, but there aren't just a lot of saves to go around in the U.S. PBL, and he's been one of the few guys who's been able to capitalize on some of those opportunities. 15.5 strikeouts per game, only 4.5 walks.
As expected, Parkinson is not available, obviously, with the pinch hit appearance of Martin, the only other catcher for the Unicorns officially. Adam De La Cruz is their emergency catcher, but Martin will now take over behind the plate as well. Dakota McFadden, Felix Abaret, J.D. Stubbs. 3-4-5 in this lineup. Come to the plate as we hit 9:05 Eastern time, exactly 2 hours after first pitch. We'll see if we get in 9 here today with that 2.5 rule in place.
We got really quickly through 5.
We did.
An hour 20 through 5. That's
You must have mentioned it.
Might be a new record.
How quickly it was. That's why we're...
Not on air, I didn't. Does that count as an announcer's jinx, even if I don't say it on air?
Sure does. Line drive up the middle, anything does, right?
I guess you're right.
McFadden now 3 for 4 today. He scored twice.
Yes.
Some balls sharp.
Swinging the bat very well.
And you talked about it, and he talked about it with me as well, just making sure he doesn't ruin his swing in the home run derby, which for some is easier than it sounds. For a guy who's hitting 6, it becomes maybe a little bit easier to not only plan how you want to win a derby like that. I believe that's his 3rd or 4th victory out of those 6. But also, you know, maintain yourself for regular baseball.
And it's almost like the inverse has happened where he's, you know, kind of fed off of that energy and that win in the home run derby to some good at-bats in the last couple of games. Obviously 3 for 4 today.
Popped him up here. Hodo waiting. Finally does come down for the first out here in the 7th.
And I think part of the reason that is for McFadden is we talked about it very literally today, the adjustments to make between a regular swing and a derby swing. And he said he's literally trying to have his swing plane be on top of the ball and just hit liners directly over the heads of the shortstop and second baseman. And in the derby, all that changes to is it's the same thing. You're just trying to change that swing plane to be right over the yellow line on the wall. So there's not much of an adjustment in the elevation there in his swing, you know, as far as his thought process about it. And that probably is why he's got, you know, that ability to not ruin his swing for one day in the derby.
And more the line drive home run is the way to go, definitely. With how the derbies have changed, so a lot of, and most it seems like, are going with the timed format. And we talked about it in the pregame show. Just 2 minutes and 30 seconds in the first round and the second round, and then 3 minutes in round 3 with that timeout that you can use. But not a lot of time, but 38 home runs in that amount of stretch is pretty darn impressive. There's a little flare to left. Bolin sees it hang up enough for a quick out number 2 after the leadoff single here.
Yeah, I mean, I go to the batting cages and, you know, one token gets you 18 swings and it takes about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and I'm, you know, huffing and puffing after those. And I'm not hitting 18 home runs there either, just like McFadden was. So it takes a lot of effort and a lot out of you to really go full force with those swings for that long.
Don't always get the best pitches in those betting.
No, you do not.
Cages either. Dribbler on the ground to Hodo, and a nice job by Bewley after the leadoff sharp single by McFadden. He retires the next 3 in order. That's 4, 5, 6 in the lineup as well. The Beavers trying to avenge their loss earlier today. Long way to it here early on.
Dunham Sports is a proud partner of the USPBL. Big names, low prices, delivering value since 1937.
At Fifth Third Bank, we're working hard to make banking a Fifth Third better, which means we put 166.7% into everything we do.
I think you can only give 110%.
Well, with free checking, fraud protection services, and an automatic savings tool to help you quickly reach your goals, 166.7% is possible.
Oh, wait till my 8th graders hear about this. They're gonna be like, it's not possible. Well, yes it is.
This is banking, a fifth third better.
Slide into a new home. Work with a local mortgage pro who works for you. Get a cheaper, faster, easier home loan. Find a mortgage broker near you today at findamortgagebroker.com.
James Crick takes over on the mound here for the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers in the 8th. Takes over for Zach Blankenship. Couldn't have a better of an inning in the 7th. Struck out the side, pounding the zone with fastballs. He did end up getting behind Drew Glossy, the third and final batter he faced 3-2, but was able to dust him high with the fastball to end the inning. We'll see what James Crick can do here in the 8th.
Yeah, I was at first going to say a little surprised to see Blankenship at least not come out for a second inning and then Crick maybe come in for the 9th, but I think the Beavers want to get both James Crick and Nick Shaw an appearance in this game. So likely see Shaw in the top of the 9th.
Crick has been one of the more impressive pitchers here in the USPBL ever since arriving. This will be his 12th appearance. Has thrown in 11 innings, 4 walks to 13 Ks, and a slim opponent's batting average under the Mendoza line. Checking into play here today, middle of July 14th. Just past the halfway point of this USPBL season. Certainly comes a little bit fast, and we're not here for every game because of the non-publics that happen throughout the week, but a league that starts in mid to late May, finishes up in early September. Definitely doesn't seem like we're halfway per se.
Oh, it does not feel that way. It always feels early until we get to like the last week of the season to me. Happens a lot with the NFL season. I'm like, oh, it's early. The Lions got some chance to turn around. It's like week 13. Like, oh, they just started.
Fastball slider circle change for Crick. Fastball that can reach 94. First pitch to Bolin, a swing and a miss. The average fastball 91 from James. There it is, but low. Bolin today 0 for 3. Strikeout, double play, fly out. That double play looked very routine for Guzman at short. Just stepped on the second base bag and fired to first. That was a big inning and a big exclamation point for Shea as well, because he allowed the leadoff batter, the first two that is, Hodo and Colossi. Things could have maybe turned around. He then fouled it up in the 4th, striking out the side. And lasted through the 6th tonight, walking 2 and striking out 8. 2-1, fastball at 90 away, 3-1 on Malik now. 8th inning brought to you by Jarbcom. Thank Jarbcom for their sponsorship of the USPBL network this year. Castro on deck, Sakopoulos to follow. Now the 3-1. Chopped on the ground to Collette, ate him up. Still has time. He collected in time, and what a stretch by McFadden. All for naught, though, as Bolin reaches.
Yeah, it's a tough play for Collette. Pretty hard hit ball on the ground by Bolin in that 3-1 count. Trying to stay out in front and put a good swing on it, and he did.
There's a newest hardest ball thrown in the infield, for those of you that care. Kind of an obscure stat in Major League Baseball, but obviously haven't been tracking it for that long. But I think you talked about this guy before, O'Neal Cruz.
Yep.
For the Pirates, he's been doing this quite a bit, maybe breaking his own records a few times, but he threw a 97.8 mile an hour ball to first base from his shortstop position here today for the Pirates.
He is quickly becoming, he spent some time in the minors this year for the Pirates before recently being called up, but he is quickly becoming must-see television if you're a baseball fan, stretching beyond the USPBL and maybe beyond any other local teams like the Tigers. 6'8", shortstop. A lot of power.
Some other scores: Cleveland over Detroit in the 8th inning, 3-0 Cleveland there. Boston and Tampa Bay tied at 3. That's in the later third of that game as well. Schreiber, the former Tiger product, pitching for the Red Sox as we speak. Boy, has he turned himself into a quality bullpen arm. Now the 3-0, line drive to left, hugging Davis. Won't get to it. Well, that's another ball I thought might get up there a bit more to the warning track, but balls are just deadening here today.
Yeah, that one had a different sound to it. That was very hard hit off the barrel of Castro. Had that little extra vibration, you know, when you really crank one on a line. Davis wasn't able to get to it.
John Shriver, the aforementioned, also out of the University of Northwestern Ohio, which there's a couple USPBL players playing right now that are a product of there. But how about a .6 ERA through 31 appearances for Schreiber this year?
So you mean to tell me someone left Detroit and became a good player in their respective sport?
Yeah, the Tigers have just those bullpen pieces. They've struggled. Even when they were really flourishing, they'd bring in free agent signings. Joe Nathan, you know, he's just one of them. But guys that were really good before they got here and just didn't work out for whatever reason out of the pen.
Not even guys that, you know, maybe weren't as good in Detroit as they were in other places, but just superstars continuing. J.D. Martinez, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, you know, a lot of these guys have just continued to be really great players. And it's not, like I said, not just the Tigers. It's all across the city of Detroit. People leave and become sensational for whatever team they go to.
Fly ball to center. Castillo will see that one sink into his glove. Sakopoulos hit it hard. The fans oohed and ahed, but that 92-mile-an-hour fastball stays in the yard.
That one looked like it had a chance off the bat, but again for Sakopoulos, maybe a little bit too much launch angle. Got it a little bit under it. Bolin looked like he was thinking about tagging from second on that deeper center field fly and made a good decision not to. Castillo got that ball in quickly to Guzman over at short.
Here's Noah Childers now with one out and runners on first and second as he looks at a strike. One swing of the bat can certainly change the complexion of this game real fast.
Unicorns are no strangers to one big swing either. Obviously Lambert with a 3-run blast in game 1 today.
Now the 0-1 fastball in for strike 2. Other scores around Major League Baseball: Kansas City topping Toronto right now 2-1. That's in the top of the 8th inning.
I hadn't paid much attention to Kansas City before the Tigers series recently. They're a fun team, though. I see why Kansas City fans have reasons to be excited.
And I read as well, I believe 10 of the players are unvaccinated for the Royals, so that means they were not crossing the border. That's the same case for every U.S. team going to Canada this year, so that's a real big number in terms of guys they can't bring.
They're essentially the 4A Royals on this road trip.
1-2, fastball swing and a miss out of his shoes as Crick punches another one into the books here, the second out in the 8th. L.A. over St. Louis right now, 4-0. That's in the top of the 7th. The L.A. Dodgers, that is. Good start for Anderson here today. He's thrown 6 innings, 2 walks, 4 Ks. First pitch to Lambert in for strike 1. The White Sox have a 6-1 lead over the Twins. That's in the 4th.
The American League Central is a laughing stock right now. Nobody wants to win the division.
A lot to be had for sure. The 0-1 low, 1-1 now. Texas and Seattle tied at 4 apiece. That's early on the West Coast. 2-2, or wait a minute. No, 4-0 Rangers, I beg your pardon, in the 3rd. Now the 1-1. Fastball high to Lambert. Colorado defeated the Padres today. The 50-41. Padres 8-5, the final score there. Big 3-run 6th for the Rockies. 2-1 clubbed on the ground to the third baseman Collette. He'll feed to second for the 3rd out here in the top of the 8th inning. Still 5-0 Beavers here on the USPBL Network.
We joined Green Path and instantly felt a support around us.
They developed a plan on paper, and this is how we're going to do it.
The plan that they gave me was something that was sustainable. It was something I could do. It was actually lowering my payments monthly by hundreds of dollars.
Choosing Green Path is a no-brainer.
Throughout your life, from big moments to ones well-earned, we're your financial guardian angel. Alliance Catholic Credit Union.
Perry Bewley still out there here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Last chance for these Beavers to extend the lead. Already 5-0 here. Good inning for Bewley in the 7th. Gave up a real sharp single up the box off the bat of Dakota McFadden, then got 4, 5, 6 in the lineup to record 3 straight outs quietly. Big inning for the Beavers, obviously. You got to call it that, I guess, in the first, because there's been no runs scored thus far by the Unicorns. Double by McFadden, driven in by the single and an error by Aberrat. Then things opened up in the 6th. It remained 1-0 for a long time as Shea and Riggleman really battled on the mound. A 10-batter inning in the 6th for these Beavers that saw, 4, 5, 6 base runners in a row between their 2- and 7-hole hitters. Most of those bloop/blinder singles that got to the outfield. Not really hard hit against Riggleman. Camacho came in. Didn't exactly look like the Brian Camacho we've seen all year long. Walked a couple batters. Walked in the bases loaded to this man right here. He kind of started the floodgates opening.
I think, too, you talked about this. Not really the Brian Camacho that we're used to seeing. This Unicorns lineup has been uncharacteristic tonight. 9 left on base and no runs right now through 8 innings of play, and not going to see that too often. Although, Jeremy, would you be surprised if I told you the Unicorns have a winning record when getting shut out?
Well, that must be the good old extra inning rule, huh?
Yep. 1-0, a sudden death winner against the Hoppers. I think you were here for that game. 0-0.
Hoppers and sudden death are like peanut butter and jelly, huh?
Really are, yeah. It's not as fun to win it in 9, you know? Add a little excitement. Stretch that dollar out for these fans that pay good money to come see these games.
Now the 3-2, swing and a miss. Slider high. There from Bewley, 1 up and 1 down here in the 8th. We've talked about that before on and off the air with Kyle Bischoff, closer for the Mammoths, also the closer for Michigan State the last year as well in the Big Ten. Slider high becoming a bit more of a common thing.
It's just like a freeze pitch for a lot of hitters. You're not expecting it to be up there. You kind of, once you see that movement, that little bit of bend.
Attila's off his shoot tops for the second out.
You almost tend to think it's going to be a breaking ball, a curveball, or maybe even a changeup with a little lateral movement, and then it kind of just hangs and moves sideways up there, and you don't really know what to do. You know, curveballs you're expecting to drop. If you see it high, you think it's going to land in the middle of the zone and be a hung one for you to hit, but that slider up there, a little bit higher velocity, a little bit lateral movement can really freeze hitters often, and they don't know how to catch up to it.
First pitch to Chris Davis, rising high. 2 pigeons have made their way to the top of the backstop. Really good view up there, huh? Kind of looking back at the crowd, back down at the field. And there they go.
And they're off.
2-0 on Davis. 8th inning brought to you by Dunham's here today. Thank Dunham's for their partnership with the USPBL. Now the 2-0 from Bewley. Slider in for strike 1. Pacing and tempo has been the friend of most of these pitchers here today. Good pace and tempo for both Riggleman and Shea. A lot of first pitch strikes, a lot of strikeouts, 16 between the two. Davis thought about chasing that one, but left it high. Now the 3-2, swing and a miss. Some dazzling sliders in that at bat. He strikes out 2 here in the 8th, and the Beavers' lead is 5. They'll try to hang on to it in the top of the 9th when we get back.
Great seats at a great price. Get them safer, simpler, and smarter with Ticket Smarter. A proud partner to the biggest names in live sports and events, including ESPN events and iHeartRadio. TicketSmarter has seats for over 125,000 live events and 48 million tickets for sale. All backed with the TicketSmarter 100% ticket guarantee. Thinking about your next great live event? Think smarter. Think TicketSmarter. Get your tickets your way, guaranteed, at TicketSmarter.com.
Welcome back to the USPBL Network, everybody. 5-0, the lead for the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers over the Utica Unicorns here today. And it's Shaw who takes the baton here from Crick. The relieving has been sharp so far here today from the Beavers.
Yeah, Blankenship and Crick did a nice job relieving Shea, who had a very good 6-inning, no runs, 8 strikeouts day today. Shaw, one of the more fun guys to watch, throwing from the left side, has that slider, the hardest slider of anybody in the league, you know, mid to high 80s. We really have not seen anything like it. Good fastball that stays above 92 for the most part. Guy who also, one of those names we mentioned, hit a home run in batting practice when the pitchers were taking their turns today. He had a nice swing, too.
A little bit later and shorter batting practice just because these have already duked it out earlier in the day from 11 to about 2. But, yeah, allowing the pitchers to have some fun. I think that's the first time we've seen that so far this year.
Yeah, we've seen the coaches.
Sure, yeah.
And the assistant coaches. We haven't seen the pitchers.
The pitchers rally and say, hey, come on.
They were excited, too. Sandness was out there fielding balls for his teammates in batting practice, and then when that round was finished, he was sprinting up to get to the locker room and get a bat and get out here.
I guess the key thing is whose bat are you using, because those guys probably are not carrying around bats.
Travius Ford, who was reluctant but was nice enough to let a couple guys share and use his bat. That was one that had a few home runs in it.
It's an expensive break.
Yeah.
Travius Ford still on the shelf. Hope to see him soon. Recovering nicely from what we hear. Eye injury. 1-0 fastball. Tied him up.
Sounds like next week. Hopefully for the Beavers and their games next weekend, we'll get to see him.
We thought it was possible we'd see him today at some point, or this week at least, but trying to make sure he's good to go.
Yeah, no reason to really rush him.
Line drive to right center field. Castillo and Ramirez gliding over. It's Ramirez who makes the catch for the first down. Well, we encourage you to tune in tomorrow. Another Fireworks Friday on the USPBL network. It'll be Mammoths and Beavers. 7:05 first pitch means we're on the air at 6:35. Brendan and Nick Matthews on the call of that one. Then for the doubleheader on Saturday, it's the Mammoths and the Hoppers.
I was going to say, what is this we you're talking about on the air? It's going to be Nick and I. You're ditching us tomorrow.
He's happy about that. He just won't say it.
I won't say it.
Now the 1-0. Swing and a miss. I'll be back next week. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Fastball away at 92 miles an hour there. Jake Martin hitting in the spot for Matt Parkinson. Also saw some reps defensively over the last couple innings. Parkinson had himself a single in the fifth and a ground out. Martin in his lone at bat, a strikeout swinging on an 0-2. Headed that way here. It's 2-2 on Jake. So Saturday is another country music night. You'll have live music on the Michigan Schools and Government Credit Union soundstage in right center. And then next Thursday will be Oldies Night / the Classic Car Show. That's a pretty cool night at the ballpark as they wheel in a number of cars around the field before the game. You can go and check them out.
Does that mean the Dream Cruise is coming up? Are those two relatively related?
You know, I don't know for sure.
I feel like it's
feels like it's that
roughly
time,
Dream Cruise time, yeah. I am right there by Woodward back in our residence in Birmingham.
Probably not everybody's favorite time, right? To try to get it in and out of your house.
No, it is not. It's cool for about 2 years when you're a kid, and then as life becomes more practical and you get older, it just becomes a hassle. It's also like not an official, like it is an official event, but also it's like a month-long thing. There are going to be people driving up and down Woodward with nice cars for the rest of the summer, pretty much adding to the traffic and the annoyance of my day.
I guess we were way off. August 20th is the official day, but like you say, it's a week and more.
I'm sure there's cars out there right now.
0-2, whiff and a miss. That was actually Adam De La Cruz pinch hitting for John Hodo here at the bottom. So now the second out in the ninth for Shaw, and Drew Galassi is the last out. He's been a battle of an out thus far today. Stick around for our University of Detroit Mercy post-game show. We'll catch up with our player of the game down by the first base dugout. Might just be a pitcher here today.
It's a good day for one.
Drew Galassi looks at a strike, even though, 5 runs were put on the board, but it was kind of that one inning as we described. That one big inning which elevated this game from 1-0 to 5-0. Quickly 0-2 on Galassi now. Ninth inning brought to you by Chevrolet. We thank Chevrolet for their partnership with the USPBL network. Shaw working quickly, trying to punch in and out. The 0-2 high fastball. Galassi steering that one straight into the glove of Aberrett the whole time. 5 runs off 9 hits and no errors for the Beavers. No runs off 8 hits and no errors for the Unicorns. Swing and a miss. Those numbers will stay the same. The slider that he uncorked high there. 2 strikeouts here in the 9th inning by Shaw. And some real good relief pitching here, Brendan. Blankenship, Crick, and Shaw all combining for good numbers.
Well, not only good relief pitching from the Beavers, but just great day from their staff all around. We talked about Zach Devin in game 1 going 5 innings and only giving up a run before the bullpen kind of struggled a little bit in the end of that game. But today, I mean, Shea had a fantastic start with 6 innings. And then, as you mentioned, Blankenship, Crick, and Shaw all doing exactly what they're supposed to in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. And it was fun to watch.
Our University of Detroit Mercy postgame show when we get back on the USPBL network. Stick around.
Great seats at a great price. Get them safer, simpler, and smarter with Ticket Smarter. A proud partner to the biggest names in live sports and events, including ESPN events and iHeartRadio. Ticket Smarter has seats for over 125,000 live events and 48 million tickets for sale. All backed with the Ticket Smarter 100% ticket guarantee. Thinking about your next great live event? Think smarter. Think Ticket Smarter. Get your tickets your way, guaranteed, at Ticketsmarter.com.
You hear about the
That's Austin Shea, the starting pitcher and winning pitcher in today's game for the Beavers. They now are back over the 500 mark at 11-10 as they split today's 2 games with the Unicorns. As we mentioned on the air earlier, a morning game, 11:05 first pitch between these two teams was taken by the Unicorns 6-1. So With the split, the Unicorns 16-5 on the season, the Beavers 11-10. As we mentioned, it's our post-game summary on the Detroit Mercy post-game show. Dakota McFadden had a really big day offensively for the Beavers. 3 for 4, no RBIs, but did score 2 of their 5 runs. He was the second hit in a 4-straight rally in the 6th inning, which was really the decisive inning. The Beavers held a 1-run lead all the way into the 6th until they sent 10 batters to the plate. 4 runs came across on 4 straight singles. They sent 6 batters in a row before the Unicorns were able to record an out, and that was really the only struggles today for the Unicorns. Other than that, Riggleman had a really good 5 innings, only gave up 3 hits before that 6th inning, and only obviously 1 run and unearned. 1 walk today, 8 Ks for him despite that shaky 6th inning. Brian Camacho had a tough outing, didn't quite look like himself, and then Perry Bewley threw a pretty good 2 innings in the 7th and 8th after that, but the offense for the Unicorns just was not there today. They left 10 runners stranded, something we haven't seen from them very often. They get shut out for the 2nd time this year, and as we kind of joked about earlier, now 1-1 in games when they've been shut out. They did have a 0-0 sudden death victory over the Diamond Hoppers earlier in this year, but the Beavers do pick up the win 5-0. Jeremy Otto will be back on the other side of the break with Austin Shea, our Detroit Mercy postgame show player of the game.
Every summer, my family loves to have a neighborhood movie night in our backyard. And with my Chevy Blazer, I can head out and get everything we need for a great night. It has plenty of room for picking up friends, and the available hands-free liftgate is perfect for loading unhandy supplies. You know, it may be movie night, but my Blazer is the main attraction wherever I go.
Lease a 2022 Blazer 2LT for just $239 a month for 24 months. Put it in D and see why Chevy drives the Motor City.
Make your move with a quick and easy mortgage from Genesis Credit Union. We have mortgages to fit your life. Genesis Credit Union. Visit us today.
There are many things you can rely on in this world, like a sunny day brightening your mood, your mom baking the world's best apple pie, and never a dull moment in running your business. And when it comes to time-consuming HR tasks, you can rely on Tryon. Tryon can handle payroll and taxes, employee benefits, and more, so you can stay focused on attracting and retaining the best talent. With Tryon, you don't have to grow it alone. Visit RelyOnTryon.com.
You can always rely on Tryon.
Get great seats, safer, simpler, and smarter with TicketSmarter. Choose great seats from over 125,000 live events, all backed with a TicketSmarter 100% ticket guarantee. Get your tickets smarter at TicketSmarter.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Jimmy John's Field. A nice win for the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers over the Unicorns here today. 5-0 your final scores. We welcome you back to the University of Detroit Mercy post-game show. Now here with our player of the game, Austin Shea. Pitched really well here today. 6 innings, 2 walks, 8 Ks. And, you know, we've talked about it on air. The key for you has been limiting the walks lately.
Yeah. You know, for sure. It's just attacking hitters, getting ahead in the counts, and kind of throwing pitches that, you know, getting ahead on off-speed pitches, maybe throwing fastballs later in the count. So it's...
Good fastball today, but certainly a good slurve. I think maybe some of the best we've seen from you so far.
Yeah, I've kind of had a different mental cue trying to attack with that early too. A lot of the hitters usually will take an 0-0 pitch on a curveball. So it's usually a good pitch to kind of get ahead of and have control of it was big.
Just noticed, you know, after the 4th inning, you struck out the side. Definitely a new confidence for you on the mound. You look in control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's just going out there, attacking each hitter, knowing that the defense has my back behind me, and, you know, getting ahead and trusting what the catcher puts down.
The inning prior, a big inning for you as well. You know, the first couple reached on a single and an error, I believe, or a single and a walk in that inning, and then the big double play up the middle by Guzman.
Oh, that's huge. I mean, it's to be able to just throw one pitch and have the inning kind of completely change. It's great, and you know the defense behind me has always been solid, so it's been good to have.
A tight game all throughout. I mean, a nice pitcher's duel really between you and Adam Rugeman. You know, what's the mindset in that, knowing that you know at any moment one swing could change the game?
I mean, I think it's just focusing on what I can control. It's you know, attacking each batter, each hitter, and then trusting in my hitters to be able to get the job done, in which they did. They got the 4 or 5 run spot that any guy came out, so it was good.
What's the next step for you? Obviously, you've made a huge stride just limiting the walks and being effective on the mound with, you know, 2 pitches and your third changeup as well. But what's the next step you want to do this season?
I mean, I think it's just continuing to attack with all my pitches, having all the confidence I can in those pitches. I started out with having a lot of anxiety, you know, starting the season. To be able to kind of neutralize that's been huge. So it's just taking the day, winning the day, and, you know, going from there.
Well, it's been a really nice streak. I know you guys broke the winning streak with the first game here today, but bounced back real nice here in Game 2. What do you think's been the key as a team overall to get this going?
I mean, I think it's just even more impressive to be able to come back after a loss like that earlier in the game. I think it's even more impressive just to kind of show what the guys are doing, you know, after having a loss like that, and, you know, you could be exhausted after that, but to be able to come back and bounce back as a team, I think is really big to kind of, you know, continue to win. You know, it's big.
Great start today. Thanks for stopping by.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So Austin Shea, our player of the game here in our post-game show, sponsored by the University of Detroit Mercy. Again, 5-0 your final score in favor of the Beavers. Back tomorrow at Fireworks Friday here at Jimmy John's Field with the first pitch at 7:05. The pregame at 6:45 on Facebook, YouTube, and My Michigan TV. See you then.